West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand
agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you're waking up in the greatest country in history. We're off and running. We got an entire show planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this right here is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. You go to any of those other stations, yeah, you'll get some news updates and maybe a monologue, but that's about it. If you want to join the conversation, if you want your voice, if you're frustrated about the way something's going on, well, here it is, baby. Here's the megaphone, the whole city of Denver. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. That's 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson. I've gotten so many messages about this one issue yesterday, all coming in on my DMs on X. You can always DM me there. Those are open. Look, Bill, we all went to summer camp because the girls were cute or the boys were cute.
Or your parents wanted you out of the house.
Parents wanted the house, yeah, right?
That was in my case.
Like, we were all sent out, okay? And look, I understand, you know, the hormones are raging, and that's a whole part of summer camp. This has got to be the weirdest summer camp, okay? Yeah. This is one that just, I got so many questions.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Boulder Valley Health Center, in partnership with the University of Colorado, is giving you sex ed summer camp. Sex ed summer, like, really? Really?
Yeah, that's
learning ourselves and our world. This justice-rooted camp will help guide your young people in navigating their changing bodies and this changing world. Some things we'll learn: bodies beyond the binary, the mysteries of puberty, feelings and how to navigate them, consent and communication, and so much more. It's free. Grades 5 through 8. 5th graders. Come on, this is weird. Like, well, I got questions as to, like, who came up with this? And I'm just of the camp that, like, those conversations about human sexuality, well, those should happen within the family. Should mom talk to daughter, dad talk to son, explain the birds and the bees, and then, from my perspective, give them religious values to be the guide rails on all that human sexuality takes place within the context of marriage, and that's God's design for you, and things will work out a lot better for you if you do that. So to create a sex ed camp counselors, this is just weird to me.
It is very weird, but the other part that I'm looking at is what about perhaps parents that don't want to or feel uncomfortable or don't even want to breach the subject with their kids? This could be an opportunity for them. Again, not advocating for it. What I'm trying to figure out is the why. How was this generated, and what was the reasoning behind it? Now, I know my first blush was, when I saw it, was like, why did they decide to create this particular camp? But as I sat around and I thought about it a little bit more, I think now it could be misguided, but I think it was created based on a need, and a need that they identified. Now, I'm not saying they are correct. It is a large need. I'm not saying it's a necessary need, but I couldn't come to the conclusion that they would create a summer camp without a potential group of campers, because then you're spending money and you're not producing revenue, and the camp goes away. Because the bottom line for this is they need to get campers, they need to derive revenue. Just like if you did Who Wants to Join Falun Gong? and have that as a summer camp. If no one shows up, that you're not deriving revenue, and so it's a net negative. And so they have to. Yeah, exactly. Or, learning to lick your elbow 101, things like that. So if you can't get an audience to sign up and participate, the camp goes away.
Is this just grooming kids, though? Is this the left doing weird grooming?
I don't know, but the thing is, and the idea is again, you're ascribing motives. And that's what I had to get over, is the idea that this was created based on motives rather than need. Because, and again, I could be completely wrong, and they could have created it based on motive. We have to have something like this to expose the kids to it, blah, 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 blah. Fine. Let's see how many kids you get. Because if you have counselors and you put money into this, and you don't go net positive on that camp, chances are that camp disappears. My mother, for a number of years, was in charge of adult education and summer school for Aurora Public Schools.
Huh.
Yeah. So, guess who got to go to summer school all the time for free? Yeah, every summer! Regardless of my grades, I went to summer school. Now, the nice part was I was allowed to do certain things that I liked. I did art classes and music, and I did, the electronics and programming classes I did were phenomenal. However, she did stick me in some of the academic classes, and it was always the summer class for I guess it was math, and it was math for the next year. So when I was in 5th grade, I did summer school with 6th graders. Yeah. So I was in the 6th grade class with the kids that didn't pass 6th grade math, but I'm a 5th grader going into 6th grade. So, but again, so she was in charge of that, and I understood the balance, and I saw her going through the data forms saying that we can't invest time, materials, classroom space if there aren't enough kids in the class. There were a couple of classes that I had signed up for summer school that were canceled because they didn't have enough kids sign up because they couldn't justify the spend. So I'm assuming that they're operating off the same, that they don't have the Boulder School District doesn't have an infinite amount of money and an infinite amount of resources. So there's got to be some constraints on that. And if this is a pet project and they're going to lose money on it, okay, but we should be able to see that in budget lines later on. However, if they believe that there's an audience for this, okay. So I'm of the opinion that it's very strange, very weird, but I'm going to give them one cycle. I want to give them one cycle, see what happens, and see if kids show up. Let's see what happens.
Okay, here's the other thing I've got to talk about. We got to get to news with Blake Olson.
Yeah,
okay, help me understand this.
Yeah.
We've all had the conversations with our kids about the birds and the bees and expectations, family expectations,
given how old
religious
our kids are, I'm
expectations
sure hope so. Because
my
my youngest is going to turn 17, so if I haven't, I got one that's 25. If he's still questionable about it, I have failed miserably as a parent. Yes.
How long did the conversation last?
Oh, the thing is, for us, it went piecemeal. It was never a here's everything. It was here's where you are now, and then a little bit later it was here's where you are now, and some of it was based on their own personal development. Some was based on stuff we saw. But we kind of we spoon fed it. The idea that and you're talking about the idea of all encompassed entitled week. Yeah, it's a little weird.
Bill. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
From 8:30 to 3:30, 5 days a week.
Yeah. I'm just, that's what I can't figure. I don't, It's what's all the information? Yeah, that is. It seems
8:30 to 3:30, so all day, not one day, 10 days.
Yeah.
Over the course of 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, Boulder Valley Health Center doing a sex ed summer camp. I responded to some folks because I got this a lot yesterday from folks who were like, did you see this? And my response was, worst summer camp ever. Could you imagine being the kid later that was like, wow, you guys have blobs and you went go-karting and rock climbing. What'd you do? I sat in a classroom for 2 weeks and learned about the non-binary options I could choose in life.
Okay. Apologies to everybody about what I'm going to say at 6:09 in the morning. I know this is somewhat inappropriate, so just letting you know, if you need to turn the channel, go ahead, because you know how I roll. All right. Yeah. But imagine that kid that's like, but you want to see how fast I can put a condom on a cucumber? Sorry. I had to. I had to do that. Also, you show up with a T-shirt.
5th graders. I know. 5th grade. These are 5th graders.
I know, but you're winning challenges in lunchroom. Look, watch how fast I can do this. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Ha, 5 in a row. I mean, come on. Okay, yes, I'm being facetious. But again, I want that T-shirt. I want that T-shirt. Sex ed summer camp. It's like, what? What did you go to? My mom made me climb a mountain. My mom made me go draw pictures and stuff. And I was at school aftercare. You learned about what?
They're all gonna turn out so well.
I want that T-shirt. I want that T-shirt for the summer camp, though.
Now it's time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. 48 and cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 66 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming
I
up.
love how Blake just moved on.
It's like, I'm not touching that.
Let me just
I didn't
say
hear
two
anything.
things. Number one, have you ever met parents from Boulder?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I know plenty. I know some great ones, but have you ever met parents from Boulder? Okay, number two, if there's any bad news coming up in like 2 years where they say, something happened at this camp, don't say that we didn't tell you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and look, if any religious group did this, I mean, the Roman Catholic
That's a good
sex
point.
ed summer camp, or the
It'd be the Roman Catholic abstinence camp. Is what it
right,
would be. Yes.
right.
Yeah, that's what
I
it
mean,
is.
in my mind, it would be better, but you'd be going, what? And then this is
Yeah.
taxpayer funded to some portion, Boulder Valley Health Center and the University of Colorado. And then you just got stuff like beyond the binary. And I went and looked at the registration form, and it's fourth graders going into fifth grade. Like, that's 9 and 10-year-olds.
Fourth graders.
Yeah. Although, you know what the most awkward thing is going to be at that summer camp? When you have to choose a buddy. Because that's a really important choice. I'm sorry.
Boy,
I just
that's
can't.
true.
I'm sorry. I can't stop going in the wrong direction with this thing. I just can't.
I thought
cannot
you were
stop
going to
it.
say where to grow your cucumber.
Oh, yes. That's well. There are some other things that I said, no, I can't say that on the air. I don't want to talk to HR again this week. No, I don't
It's
want
a
to.
vegetable camp.
Yes, it is. Yes. We're not even going to talk about grapes and oranges and,
That's
and bananas.
crazy.
And no, this is bad.
Look, when you're a fourth or
Bad
fifth
host.
grader and you have some hot, college co-ed who's one of the camp counselors, you think that's going to be a good idea?
Yeah, I know. This is such a recipe for a disaster. And,
yeah.
and the way we look at it with our family is each one of our kids gets to go to one camp a summer, and that camp could be a religious mission trip. It could be, I got one boy going to a week-long basketball camp. So it's not like you have unlimited resources and all the weekends and everything's free. So go to lots of camps. So you're already constrained, and I just can't believe that some parents are like, all right, you know what you're going to do, little Johnny, this summer? God. Leaving fourth grade
Right.
is go to sex ed summer camp, bodies beyond the binary.
Right.
You know they're going
Exactly.
to be at least 2 to 3 kids in that camp that are only there because mom and dad couldn't sign them up for anything else. Everything else was full. Couldn't get them into the YMCA camp.
Right.
Couldn't get them into this class. They're like, well, this is the only thing that still has space. They're gonna be, and kids gonna be like, this is gonna suck.
And
They're gonna be a handful of
how
those kids.
and I understand there's lots of jokes, but what in the world are we doing teaching fifth graders self-love?
Yeah, I know, it's gross.
Taxpayer
And you know what?
funded.
If you're a parent and you're lucky enough to have your parents on this earth still alive, they're the grandparents. The grandparents go, hey, what are Johnny and Susie going to do this summer? Oh, we're going to send them to this sex camp. I mean, this day and age, do we feel comfortable saying that? What?
That is weird. Although
Would you say that to your parent? I mean,
No.
my dad would.
Yeah,
my dad would lose it.
my parents
mom
do.
would too.
Although I did, okay, again, 6:15 in the morning. Deepest apologies. Like, this is how my brain is broken. Although, I just had an idea, though.
Thank you.
Instead of the sex ed, if you really want to, teach these kids and have them, avoid it, and if you want to go towards a religious idea and the idea of abstinence and respecting your body and waiting until marriage, then what you need to do, you need to have that class taught by a couple of grandparents. And
Yes.
grandparents that are, again, married.
Yeah,
Because what they need to do is they
That's
need to say
right.
things like, when Mr. James over here and I are feeling a little frisky, as soon as you give the kids that mental image, they're not doing anything.
Exactly.
It's going to be like a form of cleanser the entire time. As soon as they start feeling those urges, they're going to be like, and getting the shivers down their back. They're like, oh, God, I thought about summer camp again.
That's right. No, I was thinking like Ballbricker teaching it also.
No, it's got to be, it's got to be someone like, hello, and someone's really old.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, just because that would be the image. Yes.
Today we're going to have senior citizens lingerie.
Yes.
Options.
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to talk about twerking. Here's Grandma. Here's Jimmy's grandma's going to come here and show it to you. Yes. That's how you do it.
That will score them for life. Oh, there's no doubt. You don't have to worry about anything.
I know, exactly. I think we solved the
maybe
solution.
they're
We've solved the problem here.
Than we are.
Yes, we have solved the problem. That's what it is here on the Jeff and Bill Show with Blake. We are about solutions. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank God Jeff brought it up.
Yes, exactly.
Man.
He's over there going, what have I done this morning? What have I done? What have I done? I should have thought about this.
Wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
Good morning.
He's like, I know what Bill does, and I really should have thought this through.
Oh, man.
Also, I want to point out that if you don't speak English, they have an entire section of registration in Spanish.
All right.
I don't think the Mexicans are dumb enough to put their kids into this. This is like white liberal. But I think the only people that are going to be there are white liberals.
I don't think the Hondurans are either. Or the Guatemalans.
When Jeff brought up the Spanish thing, I was brought back to college in my soccer traveling team, and they noticed the do not disturb sign that you put up on the doors. The Spanish interpretation, or the Spanish version of that, sort of looks like "no lo moleste." And I remember one of my teammates going, "No lo moleste." It's like, that's an option, and I have to refuse in Spanish. And so for like the entire week, you were no lo moleste, no lo moleste. It just. It's like, we have to request that? Like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah, if I don't put this up there, what happens in the middle of the night? Yeah, exactly.
That's great, man.
No lo moleste. Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Something's wrong with
I
us.
love it. All right, our other top story.
Putting up a beautiful, almost 100-foot tall American flag on this side and another one on the other side, 2 flags, top of the line.
Yeah, great to know we have a patriot in the White House as we approach day 100 next week. I wonder what he would think about that camp. I would not want to ask him. The opening bell rings this morning after stocks closed higher on Wall Street Wednesday. 47 said the current 145% tariff against China is very high and will likely eventually come down. We'll also get a look at the latest data on existing home sales and weekly jobless claims this morning. 12 states are taking the DJT administration to court over tariffs, including Governor Polis in Colorado. New York attorney fraudster crook Letitia James, whatever her name is, Letitia, released a statement saying that Trump does not have the power to raise taxes on a whim. But that's exactly what President Trump has been doing with these tariffs. The attorneys general are seeking a court order declaring that the tariffs are illegal. Closing arguments are expected today in the Jefferson County murder trial of 20-year-old Joseph Koenig. His attorneys rested their case Wednesday. Koenig is accused of killing Alexa Bartel during a rock-throwing spree in 2023. Koenig faces multiple charges, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and assault. Investigators trying to determine the cause of a fire at a home near the University of Denver. Firefighters called to the house on Franklin Street around 9:15 last night. 3 people were pulled from the home and were being evaluated. The fire department found possible hoarding conditions in the basement. Arson investigators are looking into the cause of the fire. Thousands of people visiting St. Peter's Basilica to pay their respects to Pope Francis. His funeral is Saturday, and almost every world leader will be there, and they all want to meet with the president. DJT says that speaks volumes about the great USA.
Which tells you that we have a good product. It's called the United States of America, and it's great. And these people know about it better than anybody in this room. But we have a great place, and it should be a lot greater. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it greater than ever before. It's very simple.
News brought to you by Lora Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at LoraFireplacePatio.com. Game 3, Avs and Stars last night at Ball Arena.
Over the line. Here's the Donov out in front. They score! That's hockey, baby. What a setup on the back door. And Dallas comes through, and it's Tyler Seguin who has broken the tie in Game 3.
Stars now lead at 2-1 after a 4-1 victory last night. Nuggets and the Clippers tonight in Game 3 of their series, 8 o'clock tip-off. The Rockies at the Royals today at noon. It's getaway day. 46 in North Glen, 47 in Lakewood, and 48 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Thursday.
That's the thing, though.
Yes, I want them to be woke now.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Some developing upslope will bring some changing weather to the Front Range in the days ahead. Temperatures will be slightly cooler, and chances of showers and thunderstorms will be going up. Highs today mid to upper 60s with scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. Lows 40s. Highs will be 60s Thursday and near 60 Friday with scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms possible both days. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Federally funded child abuse. Boulder Valley Health Center, an abortion clinic in Colorado, is hosting free sex ed summer camp for children, which will teach them about gender ideology and everything related to sex, body, sexuality, sexy feelings, and justice, going all the way down to fourth graders now entering fifth grade. Lots of text messages on this. Some saying this isn't sex ed. This is state-funded grooming dressed up in rainbow buzzwords and activist drivel, teaching children, literal children, about masturbation, sexy feelings, and pleasure in all sorts of ways. Are these people demonic? Because this reads like the opening chapter of a dystopian horror novel written by a convicted sex offender. Boulder Valley Health Center is a disgrace, a festering tumor in the rotting corpse of what used to be a great state, and the fact that this twisted garbage is being paid for with federal tax dollars, that's not just outrageous, it's criminal. Every sick freak behind this camp should be dragged in front of Congress and made to answer for what they think fondling your genitals is an appropriate summer activity for kids. Meanwhile, Jared Polis is nowhere to be found. He and his Rainbow Brigade are too busy rewriting biology and destroying parental rights to even blink at this problem. Because in modern Colorado, if you oppose sexually indoctrinating children, you're the problem. Enough is enough. This is grooming. This is perversion. And if you're not angry about this, you're either asleep, complicit, or one of the twisted people cheering it on.
Does the texter understand this isn't mandatory?
No.
This isn't a school class. That the parents have to make the affirmative choice to sign the kids up. So if it is such an affront to society, if it is something that is so untoward and that should be rejected, it will be. Parents won't sign up. And that was kind of my argument at the beginning, was if there is an audience for this, if there is a marketplace for this, then you will see kids sign up. But if they get 2 weeks from the start of the camp and they have 3 campers, this thing closes. They're not going to spend the money. I would be shocked if they have a very low number of signups and continue at the camp, because that means they are guaranteed to lose money on it. And that's going to be something you're going to have to balance out at the end of the year. And the person that is the bean counter isn't going to be so excited on setting up camps that are going to lose money. And I understand the idea of, this is indoctrination. This is what they want to teach our kids. This is a summer camp. They need to have buy-in, and they need to have the parents sign up for it in order for it to go. Sometimes there's even a registration fee that is assigned to it, that just because, to process the work and everything else, and it can be nominal, but it still is a revenue generator. And so if you have, again, 3 campers, 4 campers, 5 campers sign up, and you're a week away, 2 weeks away from the camp, this thing closes. Doesn't go because you don't have enough kids to justify the spend on the
I understand that
staff.
argument, but aren't there things out there that we shouldn't be doing, even if there are a handful of parents that want their kids to be a part of this? Like, is it the state's role to fund, or the federal government's role to fund, sex ed summer camp for kids that have just finished 4th grade? That includes things that are inappropriate, pleasure in all sorts of ways, self-love, the beyond the binary. I mean, is that the job of the American taxpayer to fund this type of thing? And shouldn't there be a line that we just say, this is inappropriate? And frankly, I would question any parent sending their kids to this. But if you're going to teach it this, I think you should be investigated. This is borders on child abuse in my mind.
How does it border? Now, because I understand that, and I understand the idea, and we've said it a couple of times, both text messages and yourself. But help me understand why it borders on child abuse and why some view it as grooming. Why? Because again, and the reason I'm asking about the grooming.
If you walked in, if you walked in on a family member with a younger child going, come in, little Johnny, to my room. I'm going to teach you about pleasure in all sorts of ways. You would go, get the hell out of here.
How old's the kid? How old's the adult?
5th grade.
Okay. And what's the conversation going to cover?
Masturbation.
Okay. Depends on how it's discussed. Yeah. Because that is the time in which kids are starting to reach prepubescence. And there are going to be questions. And it would depend on how it's discussed, and it would depend on who that kid is. Yeah, because some kids maybe...
This is child abuse.
How? How's it child abuse?
Teaching kids about that at that age?
But again,
absolutely.
No. Help me understand how it is abuse. Here's the idea: is what I'm hearing is you object to the teaching. What I'm trying to understand is the abusive nature of it. I'm not disagreeing that people can object and think it's wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about,
sexualizing the kids at that age.
What do you mean by sexualizing? Is knowledge sexualization? Or are you telling the kids they need to dress up and perform? Because remember, the sexualization of like the pageants that we had with John Benet Ramsey, that was because the little kids were dressed up as adults and mimicking sexual behavior. It was a performance aspect of what they were doing. So so far I don't see anything that rises to that level. So what do you mean by sexualization? Is knowledge the sexualization?
Yeah. If you're teaching kids, if you're teaching 4th and 5th graders this stuff, there's one that type of education belongs to the parents. Okay. And in this case, teaching kids about masturbation when they're 4th and 5th grade is totally inappropriate, and it sure as hell shouldn't be taxpayer funded.
Well, here's the thing. What if other families view it as not inappropriate, and they actually, and I'm not saying it's a summer camp, but a parent, but maybe even a parent at your kid's school, discusses the basic birds and bees with their kid in 4th grade? Would you say they are sexualizing their child? If they explain to them...
If they're encouraging their kids to do that type of stuff.
Well, hang on a sec.
Absolutely.
Hold on here. This is different. Now you've added another word. Encouraging. Originally, hang on, but this is important, because originally it was just knowledge. You said it was abuse based on knowledge. So if a parent came to a 4th grader, based on how you described it, a parent came to a 4th grader and explained to them the birds and the bees, and did it in the way in which you even approved of and you talked about. This is how you go into a loving relationship. You do it inside a marriage. This is how sex works, and you do it in a very antiseptic way.
But they're not doing that here.
Hey, we don't know if they are
we
or
are.
not. Not necessarily.
And there are descriptions here. They're talking about pleasure in all sorts of ways, self-love, and so much more.
Yeah.
You think this is some like Roman Catholic abstinence program?
No, but what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the idea of because originally it was knowledge is sexualization. So just providing the knowledge. So it wouldn't matter if it was this camp or if it was Roman Catholic education, evangelical education, or abstinence education. It wouldn't matter universally, because the knowledge, according to originally, was just that exposure was the abusive factor of it. Now you've got, but okay, I disagree that exposure and knowledge is necessarily the abusive factor. Then you were talking about the encouragement. Now, if we get to encouragement, now I can see something where I get closer to where you are, because if at the camp they're like, hey, go home and try this tonight, now you have encouragement, and that may cross a line depending on what they're talking about. But the simple knowledge, I disagree. I don't think the simple knowledge is either grooming nor abusive. I don't think that knowledge is abusive or grooming.
Why
in any
would
way,
you have a camp about this? I mean, you're combining both of them. One, I don't think there's a distinction that exists there. I think this camp is about both knowledge and encouragement. And creating a sex ed summer camp where you're going to spend 5, 6, 7 hours a day, 5 days a week for 2 weeks for 5th graders to explore this stuff? What the hell? How do you have that much time on this stuff? This is child grooming. This is inappropriate.
What do you mean by child grooming? Tell me, how are you defining grooming? Because for me, that's a very loaded word that involves criminality.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So how are you
should be brought up on criminal charges.
Okay, how are you defining grooming? Because it may be different than the definition that I'm using.
You're sexualizing children that in a direction that is inappropriate. You're introducing them to topics that are inappropriate. You're making them sexual beings way too younger than they should be. And then you're teaching them to go live that out in a way that's harmful to them.
See, now, I would disagree with you on your definition of grooming, because for me, the definition of grooming, this is why it's important, and this is why I push back a lot. And and again, it may or may not be fair for some of the audience, but this is why I push back a lot on the idea of when we talk about transgender and gay people grooming. Because grooming is a criminal behavior in which you are trying to take sexual advantage of a person or target. And so unless you have these counselors trying to have sexual relationships with these campers, I disagree with the definition of grooming. I don't think it falls into my criminal definition of grooming. And again, I can be wrong and other people have different interpretations, but unless the person giving the education and having the relationship is doing this for a means to an end, and that end being sexual access and gratification with that child, I disagree with the term grooming. I don't think it rises to the term grooming. We can talk about it being inappropriate. I can even have the discussion with you about abuse, but I disagree with the idea it's grooming, because someone that is grooming another individual is trying to get access to the child.
Look, you're setting these kids up to embrace a very destructive form of living, right? Which is self-pleasure, sex outside of marriage, beyond the binary, that your genders can change. And so you're literally instilling into them ideas that are going to harm them in the future, encouraging them to embrace that, And this sets these kids up for destructive patterns in the future.
But I mean, Wikipedia is just defining, again, not perfect, but sexual grooming as grooming or an action or behavior that is used to establish an emotional connection with a vulnerable person, generally a minor, used to gain sexual consent from them. I don't agree that these counselors are trying to gain sexual access to these campers. You may disagree with the instruction.
I mean...
I disagree.
Dude, if you're showing up at one of these camps, there's something wrong with you. And I think there's one aspect that may be there. Yeah, right. We don't have examples yet. This is the first camp of inappropriate relationships coming out of this. But it's not right for these adults to introduce fifth graders to 2 weeks of discussion about masturbation. That's totally inappropriate.
Who gets to make the choice on when they're introduced to that information? Who gets to choose?
Parents.
Okay. Don't the parents have to sign up the kid for the camp?
Yeah, but you can also say that it's wrong.
Choice? I know, but wouldn't they be making the choice?
Yeah, but it's the wrong choice.
I know.
And it's a really bad choice.
I know,
no,
but in
it's
your mind.
Universally wrong.
No, in your mind.
No,
hang on.
It is actually universally wrong.
Okay, hang on a sec. But
this is not purely relativistic.
No, it is because of how you've defined it. Because you said, I asked you a moment ago, who gets to make the choice when they should be exposed to that? And you said the parents. The parents then, if you're saying the parents should be able to make the choice when they're exposed to it, then the parents should have the choice to sign these kids up for the camp.
You don't have the choice to prostitute out your child. Just because the parent chooses it doesn't make it all of a sudden
this isn't prostitution. This isn't prostitution. And again, you said it was up to the parent's choice on when they're exposed to this information. And
they're the ones who sign it up.
And the parents have to choose to send the kid to camp. It's still a parent's choice.
You cannot, just because it's your choice doesn't mean that it's universally okay to expose them to terrible stuff.
But you just a minute ago said it was a choice, and you just a minute ago said the parents should have the choice as to when to expose kids to this.
To those types of conversations.
Yes. And now 100%. You're saying the parents can't.
Because
you got to make up your mind, please.
If the parent's allowing the kid to watch Cinemax at 2 a.m. and watch pornography, Child Services is going to show up to that. You don't just get to go, well, I'm the one who gets to choose when my kid's exposed to human sexuality stuff.
But you just said that.
In the conversations of a conversation about human sexuality.
Yeah.
But Bill, you're taking a conversation about whether or not we're going to have, like, when to have sex, what sex looks like, all that stuff, and then saying because a parent has that conversation, ergo, everything a parent does about human sexuality is covered under it. That's not right. If you do particular things that are abusive towards that child, like teaching them how to masturbate early on, exposing them to pornography,
what's
all
early
that
on?
stuff.
What's early on? Isn't that an
how about
amorphous
teaching
definition?
them to masturbate, period? Teaching a kid to masturbate is wrong, period. Whether it's 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, or anything.
But how did we go from early on to then it just being completely and totally wrong? I mean,
because you challenged whether or not that was a qualification in my argument.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm changing and saying it's bad, period.
Okay. Now, again, fair, but the idea, I understand where you went with the pornography argument, but that would be inappropriate based on the ages of the kids inside of this camp. If the kids went to the camp and they started showing them R or X-rated films that were explicit, that would be illegal. So they could be punished for that. So that's a bad assumption.
So how is that different than teaching somebody about masturbation?
Because it would be based on how the conversation goes and everything else. The idea of showing them pornography is different than having a conversation about masturbation. And I would assume that if a parent talks to their child about masturbation, that wouldn't be considered pornographic. It wouldn't be the same thing as sitting them down in front of a skin flick and saying, "Watch this." That's totally different. And that's
I don't
the
think
assumption.
it's different at all. It's the sexualization of children, in this case, very young, and in this particular case, highly paid for by taxpayers. All right, Billy and I are kicking it off this morning.
Just realized what time it is.
303-696-1971 if you want to join the conversation. 303-696-1971. Would you send your kid to the Boulder Valley Health Center Sex Ed Summer Camp?
That's a good question.
Would you send your kid there? And if you wouldn't, what's wrong with this camp? And should there be consequences for the people even proposing this? 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, Billy and I blew way through all of our commercials this morning.
Whoopsies.
This was the point
time
of
is it?
contention. Boulder Valley Health Center, in partnership with the University of Colorado, has put together a sex ed summer camp, learning ourselves and the world. This is for 5th through 8th graders. Actually, 4th graders just finishing, now heading into 5th grade. We'll talk about everything related to sex, bodies, sexuality, sexy feelings, media, power, and justice, bodies beyond the binary, feelings and how to navigate them, gender and sexuality, consent and communications, relationships, pleasure in all sorts of ways, and self-love. My opinion being that this is federally funded, taxpayer-funded masturbation lessons for children. That's just totally inappropriate. And parents shouldn't be sending their kids there. This is peak liberal insanity. Other opinions being like, look, this is the parents' choice if they want their kids to be introduced to this stuff early on. Who are we to judge? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Coming up next, you choose the news. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
This is the song Billy and I play in our heads before we debate.
I didn't know this is in the music rotation. This is fantastic. This is unexpected.
This is a good one.
As soon as it started, I'm like, I know this song.
Now, to all those that are like, please move on from the topic of the sex ed camp in Boulder, we are. With a little you choose the nose.
Yes, we are. It's time to make things even more uncomfortable. Yes, you know how this is. This is America's favorite fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. I've spent mere moments this morning scouring our interwebs to find dumb stories about us humans. There were a lot this morning. And giving them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why, oh, why would we do stuff like this, like discussing a sex ed camp at 6 o'clock in the morning on KNUS? Well, it's because at this hour, we are left unsupervised. And as you have seen and heard, Jeff and I make questionable decisions. That's why you love us. Alrighty. Now, in this game, Blake Olson joins us from the news department. Jeff Hunt is in the studio. Gentlemen, here are your stories. Headline number 1, setting the tone for the relationship. Headline number 2, independent asset analysis. Headline number 3, lights, camera, action. And headline number 4, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Lights, camera, action.
Yeah,
please.
lights, camera, action. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says it is time to bring warrior culture back to our military service members. And that's why he is ordering modifications to a room next to the Pentagon briefing room so that he can put on his makeup like a warrior. Grrr. Yes, Pete Hegseth has requested they are going to retrofit what used to be the VIP room in the Pentagon for his own makeup studio. Yeah. Now, again, they are going to be making the changes on the cheap. The renovation was originally estimated to cost more than $40,000. For a room for Pete to put on his makeup for TV shows. But they've scaled that back. They're going to be going with stuff they can find around the office and not do some of the more expensive stuff, things like that. And the secretary has said that he is proudly, as a warrior should, he's going to be putting on his own makeup. So that's
good for him. And
good.
Walgreens makeup, too.
Yeah. So he said that. Yeah, so grrr, warriors with the makeup studio.
That didn't work.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of like... Okay. I mean, if he was going to go around the base and say, you know what we needed a space so that everybody had a makeup, just people would have questions. But
the problem is he spent too much time at Fox News.
Yes.
With the makeup thing.
In fact, this room is going to double as his interview room. That's how they're setting it up with a green screen in the back and some other stuff. So when you see him, he's going to be, he's going to have his own makeup interview room. Yeah.
Part of the enemies are the American media.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nicely
absolutely.
done. That is fantastic. High five on that one, Jeff. High five. That's great. Alrighty. Okay, Blake Olson, your choice this morning, sir. Setting the tone for the relationship, independent asset analysis, or it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yes, honoring Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett, fantastic song. And for the very first time, scientists have documented that maybe chimpanzees also like to have a happy hour. Yes, research teams have found that they have social drinking behavior among chimpanzees. What they did is, this is something that took months and months and months. They put up cameras that are motion activated. Now, in a park in West Africa, they filmed wild chimps on several occasions sharing fermented African breadfruit with each other. They would gather around the breadfruit, open it up, reach in, and share it. And they said it was an interesting social behavior because it was both consuming alcohol and eating at the same time, much like happy hour. Now, were the chimps getting drunk? Well, they tested the alcohol content of the breadfruit. Basically, it's like having a light beer. So the chimps were getting around and having a bunch of cold Coors Lights.
Did they complain about their bosses?
Yes, they did. Yes.
I was thinking the
and the
same
dress code.
Thing.
Yes. Yeah. So again, they sat around, they ate, they had happy hour. It's like having a bunch of light beers with your buddies.
Video.
Yeah.
I gotta see the video.
It is. They sit there.
There's a new Budweiser ad coming there.
Yeah, exactly. 3 Monkeys, Budweiser. Okay. Now,
it looks like the Jeff and Bill show.
It does. What's up? That is the best. All right, final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt. Setting the tone for the relationship or independent asset analysis?
Independent asset analysis.
Yes,
please.
independent asset analysis. That is what the bank teller in Pocahontas, Arkansas said she was doing, Heather Pankey, although is being held for some crimes. It was discovered earlier last month that she was employed at First National Bank and she might have been dipping into the accounts of some of the customers. Yes, including one that had recently passed away. She said she knew some of these customers had assets and they weren't using the money at the time, so she was just borrowing it. She borrowed more than $240,000. Never paid it back. What kind of loan terms are that? Oh, well, that's it. End of the Issues, the news. I want those kind of loan terms.
Got to be careful then.
Yes, exactly.
Those bank tellers will get you.
Yeah.
All right, we've got George Teal coming up. He's going to respond to Lora Thomas's lawsuit. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS, and I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up here in just a second, George Teal, Douglas County Commissioner's going to join us. Interesting lawsuits being levied against the county, and some being dismissed. We're going to cover it all. You're not going to want to miss it. But now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. It's 48 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 67 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
Putting up a beautiful, almost 100-foot tall American flag on this side and another one on the other side, 2 flags.
That's awesome. I have to keep on playing that. 2 new big, gigantic American flags will fly proudly at the White House now, and Trump is paying for it. DJT is cracking down on DEI and education with 2 new executive orders that get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, saying U.S. education is getting out of the business of DEI. Internet scams in the U.S. are on an all-time high, and they are at an all-time high. A new report from the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center says that scammers and cyber criminals stole a record $16.6 billion from Americans last year. That's 33%. A 33% increase from 2023. Victims aged 60 and older were the most impacted. Speaking of the FBI, this wokety woker is former FBI, and he's running for Congress.
We're up against some serious threats right now. From skyrocketing costs to Trump and billionaires corrupting our government. And I can't just sit on the sidelines and watch. Because for 17 years, I was an FBI intelligence analyst, working in secret to keep us safe from global threats and the insurrectionists who stormed our Capitol. But now that the threat is coming from inside the White House, I had to leave the FBI and step forward so I can finally tell you who I am. Hi, I'm John. No, I can say that now. I'm John Sullivan. I'm a dad.
Okay. Good luck. Good luck with all that, John Sullivan. Closing arguments are expected today in the Jefferson County murder trial of a 20-year-old named Joseph Koenig. His attorneys rested their case on Wednesday. Koenig is accused of killing Alexa Bartel during the rock-throwing spree in 2023. Koenig faces multiple charges, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and assault. Tens of thousands of people visiting St. Peter's Basilica to pay their respects to Pope Francis. His funeral is Saturday, and almost everyone around the world knows that every world leader will be there, and they all want to meet with the president. DJT says, you know what, that speaks volumes about us and our country.
Which tells you that we have a good product. It's called the United States of America, and it's great. And these people know about it better than anybody in this room. But we have a great place, and it should be a lot greater. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it greater than ever before. It's very simple.
Wow, Dr. Fauci makes a ton of money speaking to people. He made $3.5 million just talking to sheep who listen to him. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is doing whatever he can to reinstate military members who lost their jobs and income because they didn't take Fauci's jab.
We're having an ongoing conversation with you to get it right, working with the White House as well. We want anyone impacted by that vaccine mandate back into the military, people of conscience, warriors of conscience, back in our formations. We hear you, and we're working to get updated guidance as quickly as possible.
His makeup did look good, by the way. Hegseth, I'm sure, ready to fire Nicholas Terza. This fool tells an undercover reporter how much he hates Hegseth and Trump. James O'Keefe does it again. All right, so this guy's on a date with a hot chick and tells her how much he just cannot stand everything about Trump and Hegseth.
I think they don't care who they hurt. To enact a change that they see making America in a populist conservative framework more traditional, even if that means being more sexist or racist or chauvinist. The same guy who tried to overthrow an election is just like truly setting us down a path of dictatorship. He's illegitimate. He's terribly immoral, breaking every law.
Says he's illegitimate, terribly immoral, and he is a branch chief for the DOD, and his days are numbered. Nicholas Terza, once again, is his name. Round 1 of the NFL draft kicks off tonight in Green Bay. The Titans are expected to keep the top pick and select Miami quarterback Cam Ward, who also used to play for Washington State, and I got a chance to watch him. Very good player. Colorado Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. Penn State pass rusher Abdul Carter, and Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty all projected to go early. Game 3, Avs and Stars last night.
Over the line. Here's the Donov out in front. They score! That's hockey, baby. What a setup on the back door. And Dallas comes through, and it's Tyler Seguin who has broken the tie in Game 3.
That was a tough one. Stars now lead 2-1 after the 4-1 loss last night. The Avalanche trail 2-1 once again. Nuggets, Clippers tonight in Game 3 of their series. 8 o'clock tip-off. Rockies and Royals today at noon. 44 in Castle Pines, 47 in North Glen, 48 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this Thursday.
I think we would care if we knew. If we knew.
Or, yeah. And we have to ask ourselves, the men in our lives is, why wait to be asked?
Deep Thoughts with Michelle Obama. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Some developing upslope will bring some changing weather to the Front Range in the days ahead. Temperatures will be slightly cooler, and chances of showers and thunderstorms will be going up. Highs today, mid to upper 60s, with scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. Lows 40s. Highs will be 60s Thursday and near 60 Friday, with scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms possible both days. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio, you can see his smiling face if you go to 710 KNUS on YouTube or X or 710knus.com. Commissioner George Teal, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Jeff. Appreciate it.
So, some news developing. We had Lora Thomas on last week, I think, and she gave a rebuttal to home rule after you had come on. And so, but around some lawsuits, there's been some news developing. Yesterday, former Commissioner Lora Thomas lost a lawsuit. Ruling comes one day after she filed a second lawsuit. We'll get to the second lawsuit in a second. Tell us about what happened yesterday, because it was a lawsuit facing the county.
Yeah. So for the last year, over a year, Lora's had a lawsuit against the people of Douglas County, asserting that when she went off on her own and engaged an attorney, when we were investigating what was going on with her leaking documents that were legal advice from the county attorney. And, Colorado law is pretty clear on that one, that you can't just do that. You can't just decide, if you're a member of a board of county commissioners, a city council, hey, I'm in this meeting and I'm getting advice from our attorney. You know what? I'm just going to go tell anybody. Because, quite frankly, that could put the county at over the barrel if we're being sued, if we have litigation against us, or if we want to go do something. It's kind of advertising often, hey, this is what we're about to do, and you businessmen, you can keep it quiet. You can make your plans and go into a negotiation. It gives the government the capability to do the same thing. Well, she decided, no, I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know. Everybody has a right to know. And we went ahead and did an investigation on does she really have that capability? The answer was no. She didn't care. She engaged an attorney, never told us about it, by the way. Just went out and hired an attorney, and she wanted to be reimbursed for her legal fees on it, and we said no.
And was she found to be in fault for releasing that information in that investigation?
Actually, she was, to the point where Actually, it would have been like a Class 3 felony, but it could have been a Class 3 felony prosecution, which, that would have been devastating. You can't hold elected office in the state of Colorado when you have a felony conviction. We never proceeded that far. Nobody proceeded that far. She went in and got an attorney because I think she knew that, that could be the consequence to her actions. She wanted the county to pay for that attorney. We said no. She sued then, saying, no, you have the right. She cited a case that went up in Adams County, and where a very incompetent treasurer who misplaced millions of dollars was going to have her pay garnished by the Board of County Commissioners. And the court said, no, you can't do that. This is, even if she screwed up, this treasurer, in Adams County, you still got to pay those legal fees as the investigation or as the prosecution engages. Lora Thomas tried to engage the same law. Well, yesterday the judge said no, dismissed the case. That was an incorrect precedent. And, having read through the whole legal briefs all the way up to it, read the judgment, essentially, it comes down to if you are a member of a city council or a board of county commissioners or even the General Assembly, you yourself, you're not like the governor. You're not a singular official with executive agency to where you're not the president of the United States where you make the law. If you do something, it is legal because you're the president. If you're on a board or you're on a municipal council or even the General Assembly here in the state, no, that's not the case. You got to whip votes. You got to act together on something. And depending on where you stand on the issue here in Colorado, that's probably a really good thing. And I think that's a good thing because, the qualification to be a member of a municipal council in most cities and towns here in Colorado, you live there. And you are a registered voter. You're over X amount of age. You're over 18. You're over 25. That's it. And it's a good thing. That's how we base our republic, is the common man being able to run for office. But that doesn't give you carte blanche kingship powers. And that's what the court decided, that no, Lora Thomas did not have that capability. And they sided with the county. So the people of Douglas County are not going to have to pay her shakedown of, hey, just like every other employer I've ever had, Lora Thomas, she got out of that employment with a lawsuit, with the threat of a lawsuit. And the prior agencies, be it the state of Colorado, paid her off. Go away. Don't go away mad. Here's some money. Just go away. Well, we didn't feel that was the right thing to do for the people of Douglas County. So we said no. She sued. Judge decided that the people of Douglas County were in the right. And Lora Thomas, once again, was in the wrong, but finally she got caught.
That's George Teal. He's a Douglas County commissioner. A case yesterday being dismissed from former Commissioner Lora Thomas. Loses a lawsuit, but the ruling comes one day after she files a second lawsuit. Let's get into this lawsuit. This is the Gazette. Douglas County faces lawsuit alleging commissioners violated open meetings laws. Former political rivals team up to file a lawsuit against Douglas County commissioners to expand transparency, notably surrounding the home rule issue. Now, this is an issue we had you on to explain last time. Lora Thomas provided a rebuttal to that. Now, 3 Douglas County residents, former political rivals, filed a lawsuit on Tuesday against the Board of Douglas County Commissioners, claiming it violated state open meeting laws on more than one occasion since December. Teaming up to file the lawsuits are former Douglas County Commissioner Lora Thomas, a Republican, House District 43 Representative Bob Marshall, a Democrat, and Julie Gooden, a Douglas County resident and registered unaffiliated voter. Attorneys are pursuing the lawsuit, claiming commissioners engaged in over a dozen meetings since December that violated the Colorado Sunshine Act law, arguing they held unlawful public meetings, either discussing policy in private or not providing enough public notice prior. During these meetings, the commissioners not only discussed public business, they made unlawful decisions of great import to and impact on the citizens of Douglas County. The lawsuit requests the court force the county to forfeit 2 adopted resolutions for residents to begin the process of becoming a home rule county, which voters get the final say in. Plaintiffs argued the county approved the resolutions in a meeting that violated the Colorado Sunshine Act. Your response, sir?
Completely false. She's going off of assumptions and guesses. I think it's because of the way we had to operate when she was a county commissioner. We had to operate in a way that we had a methodology that sort of covered everyone from her doing her usual defamation, public policy through defamation. That is a hallmark of her entire political career. It's a tough one. I'll admit it's a tough one because, Jeff, when you are wearing your spaghetti-stained T-shirt and you beat your wife, do you do that after you drink whiskey or before? You know what I mean? It's that very same question. She's alleging things that just didn't happen. A lot of these meetings they're citing, listen, they're meetings when we had a new commissioner on board. And the discussion point is, hey, are we going to meet on Mondays or Tuesdays? Can we meet on Wednesdays? What's this Dr. Cog thing that we participate in? It was a lot of orientation for former Senator and now Commissioner Kevin Van Winkle. And some of it was, how do we want to do the business? Not what business are we going to do? Okay, that's when sunshine laws do kick in. But it's like, how do we do it? How are we going to when do we want to be on the record? When are we just sitting and talking and, we don't know what we want to do. Now, we're still preserving. Anytime we are doing business, we are contemplating doing actual formulating policy. No, that's perfectly in. It follows the Colorado Sunshine Laws, no problem. Yeah. Okay, so they're really reaching. As a matter of fact, when I read the complaint myself, I was going through it. I'm like, hey, this is when we were talking about flying out and being in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration and setting up all the meetings with members of Congress and departments under the new administration to do the county's business. Well, we already decided what the policy was going to be. We did that publicly. Those are recordings that are available. Now it's just, what time? Are we meeting at 3 o'clock? Are we meeting at 3:30? No, it's 3:15. Okay, 3:15, guys, don't be late. It's those kind of meetings that she's alleging. That's when we were talking about setting the policy of home rule, which is, in and of itself, ridiculous. The only choice for home rule is, do we refer it or not? Do we engage this public process that involves not one, but 2 elections of the people of Douglas County or not? The policy is, the policy making happened at a special meeting in March, and it was public. We had people there. We invited people to come in specifically for that meeting. To say that it was done in violation of the sunshine laws here in Colorado is just ridiculous. It's in a way, they're going to be asking us, hey, do you beat your wife before or after you drink whiskey? And, well, I didn't beat my wife and I didn't drink whiskey on that day. What am I going to do? How do I prove that didn't happen? And it's all based on lies. It's based on lies that Commissioner Thomas is weaving out a whole cloth. And she's teamed up with Democrat Bob Marshall, a Republican for her whole political career, has teamed up with Douglas County's lone Democrat to prosecute this. And it's all based on lies. It's all based on supposition. The whole thing is a fishing trip and just meant to defame what is inherently a process of the people of Douglas County that puts the people of Douglas County in the driver's seat. We're not in the driver's seat. We might not, Abe, Kevin, and I, we might not be able to be passed through the election in June to be on the Home Rule Commission. And that whole process, no matter who is on that Home Rule Commission, is going to be a public process.
That voice you hear is George Teal. He's a county commissioner here in Douglas County, responding to a lawsuit that was filed by Lora Thomas, Bob Marshall, and an independent. So you have a Republican, a Democrat, and a registered unaffiliated person, alleging that the commissioners violated open meeting laws. So let's talk about the impact of this lawsuit. Obviously, you're going to have to hire attorneys to go defend it, cost to the county taxpayer, all that stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that question very specifically because, no, we're going to defend it with our own county legal staff. We're not planning on incurring any additional expense. Our county legal staff right now, hey, they are well versed in the Colorado Constitution. Our county attorney, we got him from the city and county of Denver, and it's important to say Denver in that way, the city and the county. That's what they are. And the dirty little secret of city and county of Denver is that some days they play the municipal powers that are in the Constitution. Other days they play the county powers that are in the Constitution. They get it both ways. Well, our county attorney, we got him from the Denver legal office. He is a good Republican, even though I think he was underground for years there. And he is very aware of what is the difference between municipal home rule powers and county home rule powers. And he is very aware of what this process, he's done several years of research on what this home rule process is and what are the steps. And I think he is well equipped intellectually to defend this in the public forum.
Now, last time we had you on and we were talking about home rule, it sounded like there was a lot of options available with regards to the charter. Lora Thomas came on, I think the next day or a few days later, and said, no, there's actually quite a lot of restrictions as to what you can put into the charter. So George Teal made it sound like there's a lot more available to the voters than there's actually going to be. Do you want to respond to her?
Yeah, she doesn't know what the heck she's talking about. We have a county attorney that does know what he's talking about. He's done that work for one of the only two city and counties, that dual kind of entity that are here in the state. He did it for the city and county of Denver. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I mean, she has no law degree. She's got, I hate to say it's a diploma mill MBA, but that's what she has. That's her education. And here we have a fully bar certified attorney that is guiding this process for the commissioners, but for every elected official in Douglas County, because this has the full support of all of the county electeds in Douglas County. And hey, she did not sit through those briefings. She wasn't a commissioner anymore.
I mean, one of the areas we talked about was the idea that you could put into your charter a defense of the Second Amendment against Senate Bill 3. What Laura's pointed out, and I've heard even from some other attorneys, is like, no, it's just structural. It has to do with term limits related to county commissioners or pay or those types of things. You can't openly defy the state government with your charter for home rule.
No, that is absolutely a part of it. Yes, you can decide the structure of that county government. Totally true. We could decide that we're going to have a mayor of the county. We have to have some kind of republic form of government. That's in the state constitution. So it's got to be a mayor and 2 council members or 5 commissioners, which we've heard pushed. Yeah, we could do something like that. Totally. We could do something like that. Term limits, we're going to stick with 2 4-year terms. If I have anything to say about it, we could do something else. I don't want to. But the bottom line is they're wrong. You can put into your charter items that do counter state law. Of the tens of thousands of discrete statutes that are in Colorado Revised Statute, only 155 of them will overrule a home rule county charter. 155 out of tens of thousands. And so, no, you can. Could we get ourselves in trouble? Could we draw a lawsuit from the Attorney General? Yep. Maybe we should. She misquoted me. The town of Castle Rock in 2014 passed an amendment to their charter that any you could not legislate gun control from the dais on the town council in Castle Rock. You can't do it. Any gun control must be passed through a vote of the people of Castle Rock from 2014 to today into the future until that is taken out. We could do something like that. Commissioner Thomas misquoted me and said that I said that a state law would need to be passed in Douglas County by a vote of the people in order to be valid. I didn't say that. She heard it. This happens often with Commissioner Thomas. She's got this thing of hearing one thing and then, thinking something else got said. That's a problem for her, not for me. But I actually like the idea. That, sheriff will not enforce any state laws relating to gun control without a vote of the people of Douglas County. Is that going to draw a lawsuit? Is Phil Weiser listening right now saying, that's it, I'm going to drop the paperwork?
Phil's our number one fan, actually.
I bet you anything. He is. I bet you Phil's out there right now. And Professor Weiser, if you're listening, start drawing up that paperwork because I really like it. Yeah. I actually really like the idea. Maybe we do put that in the charter. Now, Charter Commission isn't going to meet, no matter who's on it, until July. But I like that idea. Let's do something like that. Let's put things in the charter that will draw that challenge from the Attorney General. And then, we fight it out in the courts and gets decided by the Supreme Court. Yeah, let's do it.
The charter would structure the government in such a way that, for instance, like Sheriff Weekly couldn't enforce a statewide gun ban unless it got a vote for the people. So you would push back on that overreach coming from the state via the structure of the government. That's how you would get through the home rule.
Yeah, that's the basic idea behind home rule. That's how home rule started in the city and county of Denver way back in the 1920s, was them saying, no, we've decided this. We had a vote of the people. We decided this. And that prompted the home rule laws to actually be written into the state constitution and into Colorado revised statutes. So could we push back? We could absolutely push back. The next question, I guess, is, are you going to guarantee that we can win? No, I'm not going to guarantee that we can win. But does that mean we don't do it? We just sit on our hands and say, oh, well, I guess, we're a red county in a blue state. We just got to get used to it and be nice little sheeple and go along to get along. Absolutely not. That's not how our country was founded back in the 1770s. And so, no, let's be defiant. Let's do that. Let's push back. Let's put those structural pieces in our county charter that the state constitution gives us the power to do. And let's find how far we can actually push back. If we don't, then what? We're just going to go along, get along, hope that the governor doesn't roll tanks through the middle of Highlands Ranch and Castle Rock. Well, first of all, I don't think there are any tanks in the National Guard of Colorado anymore. No, let's be defiant. Let's put in the charter who we are as a people. Lora Thomas and Democrat Bob Marshall, they want to prevent the people of Douglas County from even voting to do that. That's what that lawsuit is about. They're trying to cloak it behind the Sunshine Laws. No, they're trying to stop the people of Douglas County from voting to make a declaration about who we are, what we believe. We might be that red county in a blue state, but we don't have to just accept it. We are still allowed, under Article 14 of the Colorado Constitution, to say who we are. These are the laws that we will respect. These are the laws that we believe represent us. If they are in conflict with the state, so be it. The Attorney General does know where to serve the papers.
That's George Teal. He's a county commissioner with Douglas County. We're talking about home rule. We're talking about lawsuits. We'll continue this conversation. I want to talk to you real quick about our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. If you're losing your hair and desire to have it back, then Advanced Hair Restoration is the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology, and best of all, get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Guys, don't be ashamed of hair heading out. All the big movie stars, right? Matthew McConaughey, Brad Pitt, they've all had their hair done, okay? Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself, 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with George Teal. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I thought it was Brad Pitt. I know Matthew McConaughey had his hair done, but I think it was Ben Affleck. Who knows? I could be throwing a whole bunch of stars under the bus here, but I was getting that
It's okay. They're not listening. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's all right.
I mean, I find it a little disturbing that Brad Pitt had his. I mean, that kind of shakes my grasp of reality.
We're just jealous of George Teal's hairline because it looks good. George Teal is live in studio with us. We're talking home rule. We're talking lawsuits. 2 of them coming into Douglas County. 1 being dismissed. 1 they're going to have to face. Did Douglas County violate open meetings laws in putting together the home rule issue that's going to be facing voters this spring? June, right? I think is when is the ballot?
June 24th.
June 24th
is when they get asked, do you want to seat a home rule commission or not? And I, for one, am a big advocate that the answer should be yes. Do vote for home rule.
Now, we've had Lora Thomas on to rebut that, and I'm sure she'll want to join us. She's welcome to come on and rebut us again on this one. I like being the place where the conversation takes place on all this, but let's talk about some of the open meetings you're going to have. You're going to take this discussion to the public.
Yeah.
May 28th.
May 28th, 6 p.m. at the Miller Building. That's not the Miller Library Building in Castle Rock. It's the Miller Building with the county at 103rd Street in Castle Rock, 6 p.m., May 28th. Come one, come all. Let your voice be heard. Hear the process. Hear the planning that the county will control. There's going to be a whole other political side to it. We ain't talking about that. This is going to be information so that the people can hear it, decide for themselves, and quite frankly, speak up and tell us what they think.
Speaking of that, you got a survey going too.
We do have a survey out right now. Anyone who wishes to participate can just go to the county website, douglas.co.us, and go ahead and scroll down to where the citizen survey. We did have a question that came into the county on email of, hey, why are you doing this home rule survey now? It looks sneaky. It's not just home rule. We do these every 2 years. Every off year, every odd-numbered year. We've done it, for the last 20 years, Jeff. And a lot of the questions we ask are the same questions that have been asked 10 times up until now on other surveys.
That's George Teal. He's a Douglas County Commissioner. All right, text message coming in from RH in Wiggins. On the surface, my hunch is to agree with home rule. The more local, the better. However, with negative precedent that could be set, which may legitimize things like we've seen in Texas, where groups attempt to set Sharia law or rule for entire towns and communities. What's your response to that?
No, that's a really great question. Could something like that be done? Yes. On the other hand, we could all decide that, on Fridays we have to wear red and on Mondays we have to wear white. And that's not going to happen in Douglas County, Colorado. There's another side of that coin, though, of, hey, and people have asked me, well, what if the Democrats someday take over Douglas County? They did in Jeffco, they did it in Arapahoe County. What happens if one day we have 2 Democrats as county commissioners? Well, right now, as a statutory county, that means Douglas County goes blue. What home rule gives us the capability of doing is writing a county charter where we can encapsulate conservative principles in that charter. And so, same scenario. 2 Democrats get elected to the Board of County Commissioners in Douglas County. They got to follow that charter. If there's conservative principles in that charter, which I am going to try to make sure happens, they can be Democrats. The charter is Republican. The charter is conservative. They must protect and defend that charter unless they get it amended. You can't amend a charter, whether municipal or county, in the state of Colorado without a vote of the people. So the what if the Democrats do take over in Douglas County, just like Jeffco, just like Adams, just like Arapahoe County? That's why we need that home rule charter that encapsulate our conservative principles and will protect us if the political winds shift in Douglas County like they have around the state.
Text message coming in. George Teal, sounds like you think it's okay to defy state law, hiding behind a home rule designation. Your thoughts, sir?
Absolutely, it is. Come on, people. This is America. It's not China. Of course, we have the opportunity to speak out against a level of government we don't agree with. For goodness sakes, I can't turn on the news without seeing it covered. A group of Democrats somewhere in this country who just don't like President Trump. Well, I'll tell you what.
Phil Weiser just filed a lawsuit over tariffs.
Well, there you
Weiser.
go. Oh, well, so
Tariffs.
Is Phil Weiser un-American for doing that? Well, I think he probably is. However, is that wrong? That's in defiance of the federal government. Is that wrong? Well, no, it's not, because this is still America. And so the question of, do I think it's okay to defy state law? Absolutely. If it's a bad law, if it's a law that's against my principles as a conservative Coloradoan, listen, I grew up in Greeley at a time when, the sun couldn't set with a Democrat still on the street. That's the environment I grew up with. That's the principles I grew up with. Those are the principles I found when I got out of the Army and moved to Douglas County, and that's why I chose to raise my children there. It is absolutely our right, our obligation to speak up and defy laws that we don't agree with. That's the basis of being Americans. And I say that is the basis of being Coloradoans. And I want to encapsulate that in the form of a home rule charter for Douglas County that encapsulates that's our right as residents of the county of Douglas in Colorado.
That's George Teal, Douglas County Commissioner. We're talking home rule. We're talking lawsuits. All of this will continue the conversation. I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Kaplis with Dan Kaplis Law. Look, Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Kaplis, 40 years of service to people in this community to get them justice when they've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. He's the son of a police officer and a former seminarian. He's with us on the values, guys. But more than just being a great guy with decades and decades of service, he wins. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law is so trusted, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number. Even if you don't need an injury attorney right now, when you get in that accident, do you want to be Googling at that point? How about you just pull up, give this guy a call, get him on your team. Let's go to work. Here it is, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio is George Teal, Douglas County Commissioner. We've been having a conversation about lawsuits. There were two of them coming from Lora Thomas. One was dismissed yesterday or earlier this week. And then a second one will have to do with open meetings, and you guys will go into that, and it's going to run its course. Big deal facing the voters, home rule. Let's remind folks again, they're going to make two decisions related to this, right? Or maybe even kind of three. One, whether or not we do it. Two, who should be on it. Three, do they actually approve of the charter, right? At the end of the day, do they get to vote on that?
That is correct. On June 24th, they're going to have a vote, and the vote is going to be, do we have a home rule charter? And then they're going to have the option of who is on it, and they got to choose 9 names off of what could be a very long list of people who have put in to be on the home rule charter. We've had 70 inquiries come into the clerk and recorder's office.
70? And do they have to get a certain amount of signatures?
25 signatures in order to qualify for the ballot. Those 25 signatures, by the way, I'll just remind everyone who wants to join me in that race, those are due today at 5 o'clock.
Oh, are they
Douglas
due today?
County Clerk and Recorder.
Wow. Well, 25 signatures. You could just wander around this building, get 25 signatures. Not a high bar. Has Lora Thomas indicated she wants to be on this charter
Absolutely. In a little bit of she's kind of showing her hand, her hypocrisy. She is speaking out against home rule, and yet, she is circulating a petition to be on the Home Rule Commission. Why would someone who opposes home rule be on the Home Rule Commission? I think is an excellent question that should be posed to her, because why would you? Why would you bother? I don't know that answer. I welcome anyone who wishes to speculate about it, but it just seems hypocritical to me.
Wow. George Teal, Douglas County Commissioner. So June 24th is that vote, and then when will the vote come on the actual charter? Is it going to come? Will we get notified once it's done, or?
Oh, yeah. That'll be on the November election, the same election that the people of Douglas County will be deciding on their school board choices to be on the school board. It'll be on that election, and by law, by Colorado law, we need to circulate the entire charter that gets written. Whether it's 5 pages or 100 pages, that has to be circulated in the local paper, and that'll be the Colorado community media that we'll be counting on to help us circulate that, so that everyone in Douglas County can have an opportunity to read every single word of it, and then make their own choice.
George Teal, Douglas County Commissioner. We've got a wrap here. If people want to get connected with you, do they have more questions? What's the best way for them to do that?
Well, my cell phone number is 303-819-5936. People are sometimes surprised I put that out there, but I've been an elected official either with the town of Castle Rock or Douglas County for the last 10 years, almost 11 years actually, and I've never worried about somebody calling me at 303-819-5936. If I'm not in a meeting, I will take your call, and we can talk about it, whether you agree, whether you disagree. If you disagree with me, I reserve the right to have a nice little debate. So please do call if you wish to engage in that sort of conversation.
George Teal, thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show today.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely, fellas. Bill, Jeff, thanks so much for having me on and helping us spread the word.
Yeah, that's great. And again, Lora Thomas is welcome to come on and give a rebuttal. She did last time, so we'll see if she chooses to do that. I love the fact that the Jeff and Bill Show becomes Denver's voice, where people get to put their positions out there.
Exactly.
So you can give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Coming up next, Warren Hearn closing his abortion mill in Boulder. Is it because he can't find anybody to continue the gruesome work he was doing? We're going to talk with Troy Newman next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this April 24th, 2025, Thursday. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Ding dong, the witch is dead. At least the abortion facility in Boulder that was doing all those horrific late-term abortions, well, they're closing their doors. Get out of here with your crazy baby murdering. Dr. Warren Hearn closing the Boulder Abortion Clinic after 50 years. Why is he doing this? And what has his impact been on the thousands upon thousands of children he murdered? Is our culture maybe changing a little bit on this? On the late-term stuff, the Boulder Clinic saw about 45,000 patients. They committed 45,000 abortions over 50 years. Horrific. We're going to talk with Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue, coming up here in just a second. But now is time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
48 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 67 today. It's going to be a nice day. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the drive-by media loves this. Confidence in President Trump's ability to handle the U.S. economy is dropping, according to a new survey. No surprise, it's a Reuters poll out Wednesday. It says about 37% of Americans approve of what DJT has been doing so far. So people freak out about the stock market instead of looking at the long-term picture. Then there's Pocahontas Liz Warren. What a fraud, as you well know, a lot of you, most of you. Last fall, right before the election, she wants interest rates dropped.
On interest rates is actually go ahead and do a nice big rate cut. Keep in mind that keeping those rates high, as he has done, keeping those interest rates so high, actually has contributed to our measure of inflation.
Then today, with DJT in office, no, don't drop rates.
We understand that if the New York Stock Exchange, if interest rates in the United States are subject to a president who just wants to wave his magic wand, this doesn't distinguish us then from any other two-bit dictatorship around the world.
Oh, wow. One day she's going to peel that mask off. It is going to be frightening. It already is. What a crook. And the number of Americans filing first-time claims for unemployment assistance was up slightly more than expected last week. I need to pick up this hour. I really do. I need some Stephen Miller.
Borders these last 4 years. You mentioned the threat of international terrorism that is on our shores, the millions of gotaways who entered under the previous administration, on top of the millions more unvetted that were caught and released into the country, and the millions more that were allowed to either fly into the country or overstay their visas. It is a clear and present danger to the national security of this country, and we have federal judges telling President Trump that he can't deport these threats from our communities. This is the choice facing every American.
Yes. Thank you, Stephen. Once again, he never disappoints. Tens of thousands more. He was on last night on Fox. Tens of thousands mourners lining up to see the body of Pope Francis. The Vatican says over 50,000 have stood in line the past 24 hours to pay their respects. DJT and the First Lady will be there this weekend, and every world leader wants a meeting with 47.
Which tells you that we have a good product. It's called the United States of America, and it's great. And these people know about it better than anybody in this room. But we have a great place, and it should be a lot greater. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it greater than ever before. It's very simple.
Closing arguments are expected today in the Jefferson County murder trial of 20-year-old Joseph Koenig. His attorneys rested their case on Wednesday. Koenig, once again, is accused of killing Alexa Bartel during a rock-throwing spree in 2023. Koenig faces multiple charges, including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and assault. Protesters in New York are reportedly planning to camp out at Columbia University starting this afternoon. Oh, great. More litter, trash, and chaos on the streets of New York. They are, once again, pro-Hamas protesters. Birth rates in the U.S. are at a near record low. New data released by the CDC says about 3.6 million babies were born in the U.S. last year. That's 1%. That is a 1% increase from 2023, which saw an all-time low birth rate in the U.S. Round 1 NFL draft kicks off tonight in Green Bay. The Titans expected to keep the top pick and select Miami quarterback Cam Ward. Colorado Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter, Penn State pass rusher Abdul Carter, and Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty are all projected to go early. Game 3, Avs and Stars last night at Ball Arena.
Over the line. Here's the Donov out in front. They score! That's hockey, baby. What a setup on the back door. And Dallas comes through, and it's Tyler Seguin who has broken the tie in Game 3.
Stars now lead at 2-1. 4-1 the final last night. Nuggets and the Clippers tonight at 8 o'clock in Game 3 of their series. And baseball, Rockies at the Royals, first pitch at noon. 44 in Castle Pines, 47 in North Glen, 48 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Thursday.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You don't drink?
No.
Or smoke pot?
No.
And you're married and super Christian. We're going to get along great.
Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Some developing upslope will bring some changing weather to the Front Range in the days ahead. Temperatures will be slightly cooler, and chances of showers and thunderstorms will be going up. Highs today, mid to upper 60s, with scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. Lows 40s. Highs will be 60s Thursday and near 60 Friday, with scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms possible both days. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Headline we're going to get to here in just a second. Warren Hearn closing the Boulder abortion clinic after 50 years of murdering innocent children. Are things changing? My God, what kind of person do you have to be to want to do that? All right, tired of your outdated kitchen or bathroom, dreaming of sleek granite, luxurious marble, or the modern look of quartz? At the Art of Granite, they believe your home is a canvas. Owner and master craftsman Mitch Floria personally collaborates with each client, ensuring every detail is perfectly executed. From small vanities to complete kitchen overhauls, they do it all. And the best part, Mitch cuts out the middleman. He sources premium granite, marble, and quartz directly from his Denver West warehouse, offering you wholesale prices. And right now, an incredible offer exclusively for KNUS listeners. Mention KNUS. That's all you have to do. Hey, Mitch, KNUS. And get a free bathroom countertop with a new kitchen countertop, or choose a free kitchen or bathroom sink with any countertop package. Don't wait. Transform your home into the oasis you deserve. Schedule your free consultation with Mitch today. Visit their stunning showroom in Denver West or go to theartofgranite.com. That's The Art of Granite. Mention KNUS for those exclusive savings. All right. Warren Hearn closing the Boulder abortion clinic after 50 years. 45,000 innocent children lost their lives to this man, this place. Is it because he can't find anybody else to do it? Is it because our culture is changing? Colorado has become the center point of some of the most radical pro-abortion laws in the country. Taxpayer funded now is on the list. People traveling in from other states. We're paying for their abortions now. Totally unrestricted at any point. And Warren Hearn up in Boulder was the center point of a lot of this. He's closing his clinic. To give us some thoughts, Troy Newman, the president of Operation Rescue, joins the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning, Troy. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Well, I think it's a good day. Ding dong, the witch's abortion clinic at least is shut down. I mean, you dealt with this guy.
I say this all the
Go
time. When abortion clinics close, babies get saved. It's that simple. And we've had 70% of the nation's abortion clinics closed in the last 20 years. 70% gone. And that's what's affecting the abortion numbers on the way down.
Is that because people are going more towards like the abortion drugs, the male abortion pills that are being mailed out, or is it actually a change in culture?
Yeah, well, so there has been a change in the culture. We have a rising population and a decreasing number of abortions, so the culture is changing. However, the abortion pill is starting to take over, and it's supplanting some of these physical brick-and-mortar abortion mills around the country. But look, we're not going to stop until every single baby is safe from the abortionist knife. And people like Warren Hearn, let them fade off into their miserable existence. He's been doing abortions for 50 years, all the way till the 9th month. And these guys are dinosaurs that are part of the past. Anybody that calls himself pro-abortion these days, with the advent of sonograms and pictures and DNA evidence and so forth, is just a grueling Neanderthal. You can't kill children and say that it's in the name of a woman's choice.
We're talking with Troy Newman. He's the president of Operation Rescue. Warren Hearn closing. Now, Warren's been doing this for 50 years, 45,000. He admits in an Atlantic article he killed these babies simply because the parent wanted a different sex, for instance. Oh, we're pregnant with a girl. We'll kill the baby at 9 months because we wanted a boy. I mean, give some folks a sense of this guy's history.
So he literally wrote the book on abortion. It's called Abortion Practice, and you can look it up. You can still probably buy it on Amazon. It's a fascinating look into a devilishly narcissistic person's mind that thinks it's okay to kill children. Think about this. We've all seen sonograms. We've all seen babies in the womb at 6, 7 months. We've seen babies in the NICU at 6, 7. My own grandson was born at 24 weeks. This guy will take the life of a baby at 30 weeks, 35 weeks, 40 weeks. What's the difference between delivering a baby live or taking an instrument and killing it inside the womb and then delivering a dead body? It's literally the difference in life and death, murder, homicide, and supporting life of an unborn baby. And at this point, a fully viable baby. So this guy literally wrote the book. He's been doing it. He's been practicing. He's been teaching. He's been prognosticating and advocating for abortion for over 50 years. Since 1975, this place has been open. I've protested out there. I've prayed against him out there. And so have many, many other people in Colorado and all across the nation, by the way. So this is it's an exciting day. We're delighted. The cross of Christ will reign supreme over devilish ghouls like this every single time.
Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue, joining us to talk about Warren Hearn closing the Boulder abortion clinic after 50 years. What's your sense of why he had to close this? I imagine he would be happy to continue to accept money if there was another doctor that wanted to take over this. Was it because the insurance companies wouldn't cover these guys anymore? That doesn't seem right to me, because it seems like insurance is happy to jump in and cover abortion. But was it because they couldn't find a doctor that wanted to continue to perform these type of services?
Yeah, you mentioned all three. It's threefold. Number one, the guy's well into his 80s, been killing babies for over 50 years. Their malpractice insurance is through the roof. In fact, just on February 6th, Planned Parenthood in Fort Collins killed a little girl, 18-year-old girl by the name of Lexi Arugula. And this hypes up the cost of malpractice insurance. When you kill women during an abortion, it's not just this benign, banal procedure. And then thirdly, it's hard to find someone that's that ghoulish, that demonic enough to kill babies all the way through 40 weeks till 9 months. So he had a guy working for him. His name was, I call him Benedict Arnold. I think his name is Benedict Mills. He's gone. You can't replace someone so stone cold evil like that with just the run of the mill abortionist. You just can't replace that. And good riddance.
Oh, it's what, and for those of us that are pro-life activists in Colorado, this is one moment where we go, well, gosh, things are changing because we continue to lose. I want to go back to the effort to even just put some restrictions on late-term abortion 5 years ago. That lost. And then you had the lawmakers legislate that we're going to have totally unrestricted abortion in anticipation of the fall of Roe v. Wade. Then you had a constitutional amendment get put in by the voters that we're going to have totally unrestricted abortion. Now we're going to taxpayer-funded abortion. At this point, according to my math, we are killing, I think, roughly 70 children a day in the state of Colorado, up from 30 just a few years ago as people travel to Colorado for abortion. So help me, Troy Newman, square constantly losing legislatively in the state of Colorado, but then the most infamous abortion mill in Colorado is now closing. What's happening?
Right. Look, I understand, and it's rather depressing sometimes when you see these huge, monumental pieces of legislation move through to have completely unrestricted abortions. You can doctors don't have to do them anymore. Nurse practitioners, midwives can do them. They kill them unrestricted. But I think in my 35 years plus in the pro-life movement, that this is the last gasp of a dying industry. Okay, we overturned Roe versus Wade. That was a 50-year endeavor. We never thought we'd see an abortion-free state. We have 19 abortion-free states. As I said, in 1991, there were 2,176 abortion mills. Today, there's 718. The numbers of abortions are down, even though we have an increased population in the last 30 years. So yes, it's sometimes from the exterior, it's depressing. It saddens us. It's disgusting that we're killing these babies. We're paying for abortions with taxpayer money. However, again, I must reiterate, this is an evil industry that cannot sustain itself, that will be pushed back into the gates of hell from which it came. The advent of technology and education and the internet and 4D sonograms and so forth are impressing on people the importance of human life. And that is something the pro-life movement will continue to win the day on every single day for eternity. We cannot get depressed. We cannot get so depressed that we're going to quit. We're going to put the final nail in the coffin of these child killers once and for all in the near future. I don't know if it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but they're dying, and it's a death industry that cannot sustain itself.
That voice you hear is Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue. Troy, during the March for Life here in Colorado recently, I talked with some folks that do ministry outside of these abortion mills. Tell folks about the work that Operation Rescue does, why that's important. And the left often tries to paint those that pray, counsel, and work outside of an abortion mill as people that are screaming at women as they head in or trying to block them. Biden administration bringing charges of the FACE Act against some folks. Talk to us about the ministry that Christians do outside of these abortion facilities.
Well, look at it like this. It's the last ray of hope for an unborn baby and her mom, his or her mom, going into an abortion mill before that baby's going to die. And sometimes the woman's going to die. Like I said, Alexia Arugula died February 6th in Colorado. So we reach out. We oftentimes peacefully pray, hold signs, offer literature, call out to the women, please don't kill your baby. Now, historically, Operation Rescue was the largest civil disobedience movement in the nation's history. There were 75,000 peaceful arrests for sitting in front of the doors of abortion clinics. I've been convicted of FACE. Many of my friends have been convicted of FACE, just like the civil rights activists would sit at a grocery store or a tea counter, so forth, in front of these places. We sat down and we were arrested. We were gladly charged with trespassing. But when they elevate it to felonies and they throw my friends in jail for 6 months, thank God President Trump came in and pardoned over 20 of these activists. But it's something that I think every Christian, every person really should experience. Go stand in front of an abortion clinic, just silently pray, Watch these women full abstinence, extended in pregnancy, walking in, and they come out empty, hollow, with a dead baby. See, having an abortion doesn't make you not a mother. It makes you a mother of a dead baby. We're there to offer the peace and hope of Jesus Christ, repentance and forgiveness. But most importantly, we're there to offer life to that baby.
Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue. Troy, if people wanted to get involved with the work you're doing, how do they do that?
OperationRescue.org, OperationRescue.org. On that website, the top banner is a button you can click to get justice for Lexi, who was killed February 6th in Colorado.
And in light of that, I mean, media really hasn't covered that too much here in Colorado. No. Give us some details of what happened with Lexi, and have you heard anything from district attorneys? Has the family leveled a lawsuit against Planned Parenthood?
So one of the things that Operation Rescue does and specializes and has is bringing justice to the perpetrators of abortionists. People like Kermit Gosnell, where he's in jail for life in prison for killing innocent children, and so many others. We've got a complaint against the 5 abortion doctors, I use that term loosely, doctors, 5 abortionists that work in this Planned Parenthood abortion clinic. And we got word just the other day on Good Friday that these 5 abortionists are under investigation by the Colorado Medical Board. It is not the standard of care to go in and manipulate a perfectly healthy baby and a pregnant mom and have that baby's arms and legs torn apart, have what's called an embryonic aneurysm. So some of that embryonic fluid gets into her blood, causes an embolism, and kills her. That is not normal. That is not a normal thing. It's induced by the abortionist because an abortion is a very dangerous procedure. She was 22 weeks pregnant. That killed her. And so we're going to impress upon the Colorado Medical Board and other authorities in Colorado to prosecute these abortionists, lose their license, maybe even charge them with manslaughter or homicide. That's what is appropriate, and that will also reduce the number of children being killed.
You're listening to Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue, joining Jeff and Bill live. We are talking about Dr. Warren Hearn closing his abortion clinic in Boulder. One observation that I've got that I just want to share with Troy and Jeff is that I think it is good news for pro-life supporters because it is telling me that Dr. Hearn could not find a buyer for the practice. And what I mean is, inside the marketplace, if there was such a demand for this wide-ranging types of abortions, and given some of the constriction on access to abortion in other states, you would assume that it would, if abortion was in such great demand, that this type of procedure would be in even greater demand now because it's been outlawed in other states. And so there are doctors that will go ahead and sell their practice, and I'm certain that Dr. Hearn would like to be able to cash a fat check by someone purchasing his clinic and his practice. It's been there for a number of years, as Jeff has accurately outlined, 45,000 plus procedures. That is a well-established clinic, yet he's closing it. So I think that in addition to this, everybody should take some solace and some joy in the idea that he couldn't find a buyer. So he had to close, and that is a victory. Now, Troy, what I want to ask about is the idea of all of these abortions taking place, and this is somewhat a little bit larger discussion, larger umbrella, but why do you think that these women are making this choice?
First of all, it's a great point that this abortion mill doesn't have any market value in a free market society. It's not a dental clinic or some other ambulatory surgical center that can be put on the open market and, like I said, cash a big check. But if you look at many studies, particularly the South Dakota study on abortion, over 65% of the women are coerced in some way to have that abortion. Women don't want to, they're not marching into these abortion clinics happily, cheerfully, with horns blowing. Yay, I get to get my wisdom teeth removed. No, based on various societal issues, whether it's their marital health or their financial health, the will of an abortion is oftentimes imposed on them by a boyfriend, a husband, parents, and so forth. So if we can relieve that stress as the Christian pro-life community, offer them hope for adoption. I was adopted, and I've participated in multiple different adoptions. That's the perfect scenario where the mom doesn't have to raise that child, but the baby gets to live. Offer financial assistance, diapers, etc. That's something that is not very talked about, not often talked about within the greater context of abortion discussions. There's over 4,000 pregnancy help centers across the country that are not publicly funded. They're privately funded, mostly by volunteers, and we will just literally go out of our way to make sure that baby lives and that mother is comforted. And when we offer that sort of help, more often than not, these moms choose life.
That's Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue, and that's what I think is a lost component that you outlined there inside of this discussion and this debate over pro-life, pro-choice is the choice. And I like the fact that you outlined that 65% in the South Dakota study felt that they were coerced, but that coercion isn't just someone necessarily pressuring them. It also could be society, economics, their job situation, the support around them, childcare, stuff like that. And where I come from is I think that is the lost component in the debate. Rather than outlining you can or can't make this choice, I just like you, Troy, I don't believe that the vast majority of these women even want to make this choice. This is going to be one of the most difficult and time-consuming decisions they'll ever make, and it is something that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. But in some cases, they feel like they don't have another choice. And I wish that as our society would come to a place where we would try to support these women and be able to give them a choice. That's why I'm such a big supporter of the charities that go out there and give the women free supplies, that give the women free childcare, free access to health care for the baby afterwards, that they support that. Because I believe if the women felt that they had the choice economically, also with sociologically, and through the idea of being able to get ahead in their career, they would make a different choice. And part of that I point back to, Troy, many times, is the idea of pay disparity. We justify, and I know this is a larger discussion, but we somewhat justify the pay disparity between men and women is because women will take time off to have babies or to raise the kids. If you're telling that woman who's looking at this child and you're telling her that for the rest of your life you are now going to earn less because you made the choice of life, what are we telling her? What are we as a society reinforcing? That's the question I have. I'm hoping that for all the time and effort that we spend pushing and making sure that women can make the correct choice, that we also support them in the other choices in their lives, because I think if we found that we would support them through society, through childcare, through education, they would make different choices. I think that's some of the component that we sometimes lose, and I appreciate you highlighting that inside of the study, that, yeah, it's that coercion, and sometimes that coercion isn't just some person telling you what you need to do, that it is your situation in which you find yourself in that is that larger coercion. It's hard.
Yeah, the compassion component is what's missing here. We need to love the mom. We need to love the baby. And as a society, we need to stop looking at children as just something to throw away, throw in the trash can, some capricious, quick decision. Oh, I'm pregnant. I'll just get rid of it. I'll have another one next year. I'll have one next month, or whatever the case may be. If we can surround these women and men sometimes with love and compassion and care and financial resources. Look, children are our most precious natural resource we have across the board. Every gender, every religion, every genetic background. Children are the one thing that we cannot replace. We can replace buildings and cars, but you cannot replace a child that's been thrown in the trash. I was part of a very large lawsuit. I owe Planned Parenthood $18 million for exposing the crimes that they committed in selling baby body parts. Children are not a commodity that you can just part out like an old 69 Camaro, sell the engine, sell the fender. But that's what Planned Parenthood has been doing for decades, is selling baby body parts for the advent of science. We saw that in the Nazi Holocaust and what they did to the Jewish people. And they compiled books and studies of all the weird Joseph Mengele research that they did, and we threw it out because it was obtained unethically. Today, we're doing the same exact thing, and we're buying we meaning the U.S. taxpayers through the NIH and other large universities and so forth, buying these baby body parts and using them for experimentation. That is so ghoulish, it's hard for me even to explain it and talk about it without getting tears in my eyes. Children are not to be commodified. They're a natural resource that are creating the image and likeness of God, and that's the thing that we need to uphold and protect. That's the first job of government, is to protect human life.
That's Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue. Troy, you've been very generous with your time. I just got another question. There's an important factor in this, and you get to it in your comments there, that there's a major profit motive in the abortion industry for Planned Parenthood. In Colorado, lawmakers have tried to get any type of medical oversight on abortion clinics. It's been rejected. We've tried to do studies as to why women get abortions. That's been rejected. It is totally unrestricted, no oversight, money. CDPHE doesn't even know how many abortion clinics are in Colorado. They have to go Google it to try to get a report. This is all about a profit motive at the end of the day with Planned Parenthood. Talk about the money side of the abortion industry.
Well, how ghoulish is it to tell a woman on the way into an abortion clinic that your baby's useless? It's just a clump of cells. There's nothing of value there. Sell them an abortion, maybe get money from them, get money from private organizations, then get money from the taxpayers to kill that baby. And then on the other side, once that baby's dead, they part it out and sell it for far more than what the abortion value was to begin with. So yeah, there's a huge profit motive. But I also think there's a spiritual or emotional connection here. The death cult of the other side, the death cult of the Democrat Party that set up an abortion clinic outside the Democratic National Convention and killed 6 babies while the convention was going on. This is some weird demonic spiritual cult like the Aztecs that had to have some sort of bloodlust to fulfill their spiritual needs. That is, I think, what is a resurgence that we're seeing in America and across the world, the devaluation of human life to the point where they're just, this lust for innocent blood is really disturbing. But you make a great point. There's a lot of money in it. There's money selling abortions. There's money profiting from the exploitation of women, just the exploitation. Think of all the people that just talk about abortion and they make money off of it. Politicians make money. They get kickbacks from Planned Parenthood. We get money to Planned Parenthood as U.S. taxpayers. They then turn around and put that money back into politicians to vote themselves more money to get more money. It's a vicious, disgusting circle. And the Bible says the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And so innocent blood being shed with lots and billions of dollars is a disgusting circle that needs to be broken.
Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue. He's been on the front lines of the abortion battle for many years. You can learn more about Operation Rescue by going to operationrescue.org. Operationrescue.org. Well, in the midst of all the challenges, trying to protect the sanctity of human life, some good news. Warren Hearn closing the Boulder abortion clinic after 50 years and 45,000 lives lost. At least in that case, it's shutting down. And I have heard that maybe I've heard some Christians are looking at possibly purchasing that office space and turning it into a memorial for all the lives that were lost there. Troy Newman, thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show today.
Yes, thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, guys.
Troy Newman, president of Operation Rescue. Look, reliability isn't optional. When business security is on the line, it's essential. Businesses trust alarm detection systems for the highest level of service and expertise. Think about the time you could save using one source for cameras, key card access, fire, and intrusion systems. ADS offers expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same-day or next-day service upon request because downtime isn't an option. Dedicated teams for cameras and access control and fire alarms, and over 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected and will be ready to open tomorrow. They combine human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology to prevent crime in real time. Trusted by large and small businesses, including many Colorado schools, their security experts will review your system for free. All you got to do, go to adsalarm.com and schedule your review today. ADSalarm.com, alarm detection systems, the first choice of Front Range and Colorado businesses, ADSalarm.com. So what does it mean to you? Warren Hearn closing the Boulder Abortion Clinic after 50 years. Is this a turning point for the pro-life, pro-choice debate in Colorado, that we no longer are doing these types of procedures? Now the abortion clinics are saying they're scrambling to try to find somebody else to do this, but no word on who that might be. 45,000 lives lost. Or is this just a technical issue? Colorado will continue to be the center point of the pro-choice movement in this nation. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Good news for those of us advocating not just pro-life, but I think most common sense Americans, that sticking a needle through the woman's belly into the heart of a child in the third trimester, injecting it with a solution that stops the beating heart, the same solution we use in the death penalty, and then birthing the child or dismembering the child. That practice, at least at the Boulder Abortion Clinic with Warren Hearn, done after 50 years and over 45,000 patients visiting that, 45,000 abortions taking place. Warren Hearn closing, in part because the insurance is getting so expensive, the malpractice insurance, because women die in these clinics. Two, it's such a gruesome practice that you really have to be next level demonic to want to participate in it. So this guy couldn't sell it, couldn't find anybody to take it, had a book of patients, had a reputation, and nobody wanting to continue this on. That's a good day. But Bill, there's a flip side to this.
Yes, there is. And I think you're exactly right. That I think that's kind of the missing component in this is if there was such a large demand for this, there would be people lining up and there would be bidding for that clinic. And again, this is a really bad analogy, but I like to do that sometimes. Tickety talks. A lot of people would love to buy the tickety talks right now. That's a huge in-demand property market. It's well-developed, profitable, and again, bad analogy. I acknowledge that. But Dr. Hearn had been doing this for a long time, for decades, well-established. It's known inside the abortion community. One of the few places you can access this type of late-term procedure. He does it with almost zero guardrails on top of it. And I'm using that as my term based on who qualifies. Not trying to indict because I'm not certain about the medical care that is happening or is not happening inside the facility. I'm talking about qualifications, about how does he decide who and who is not approved and who he can't provide the procedure on. From what I've seen, very, very few restrictions on that. So that's what I'm talking about. So it would be a large developed marketplace that's been there for decades, and he doesn't have a buyer. I think that's significant inside of the market. Also, I'm worried that there are going to be some unintended consequences, that perhaps this erodes some of the pro-life argument and some of the best arguments the pro-life side has had for years, and that is the argument about a late-term abortion. We just talked off air a little bit, where you go down to protests and many people say, well, late-term abortions don't happen. Now, a lot of them are thinking of that partial birth abortion that was outlawed by federal law, but actually late-term abortions are legal and can happen. But a lot of people, because they heard about the partial birth, they assume it doesn't. But it was happening at Dr. Hearn's clinic. Now, they won't be happening at Dr. Hearn's clinic. So when those people at the protests say, late-term abortions aren't happening, or late-term abortions aren't happening in Colorado, the closure of this clinic makes them correct. And that is the part of the procedure that I believe most people do object to.
Yep.
That if we had a lot of people that said, well, I wouldn't make the choice for me, but I'll let someone else make the choice. Those voters, those people, where their line is that late-term abortion. Many of them will even draw the line at the third trimester. They'll even go that far, not just, days, hours before the birth. They'll even do third trimester. And when a clinic like this disappears, while those protesters were uninformed about it not happening or not happening in Colorado, now by default, they're correct. Now, Jeff, do you think that could possibly hurt the pro-life argument?
Well, so oftentimes when I go down and talk to these folks, they'll say, oh, late-term abortion's not taking place. And I'm like, no, doc, it is. And with Warren Hearn in Boulder, it's taking place. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yeah. Well, those are all emergencies.
No, they're
and
not.
You're like, no.
They're
in
not.
fact, he details in his Atlantic interview that he does this simply out of sex selection, too. So if you're 9 months.
He said as long as you are pregnant and can tell him why you're doing it, he'll do it. That's basically the requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. So, yeah, I mean, at that point you go, okay, well, then let's just put in some restrictions. If this isn't happening, let's just make it very clear.
Yeah.
in our law, because we do this all the time with other laws. I mean, you're passing 600 laws a year down there. You could at least write one that says only for protecting the physical health of the mother should a late-term abortion be allowed.
Yeah, and you'd assume you could get the vast majority of politicians under the Gold Dome to vote for that. You would assume.
Well, yeah. I mean, to most common sense people. But what you run into is this mindset of totally unrestricted abortion at all times for any reason whatsoever. Yeah. We must do that, and it's problematic. So, and then you run into lots of other misinformation in other capacities.
And I think the people that are worried about any sort of restriction on abortion, again, make the spurious slippery slope argument that if we allow them to restrict this, then they'll be able to restrict that. And you're like, no.
Well, I'm all for it, because once you start admitting it's a life, meh.
Yeah, the thing for me is just the restrictions, because I'm not sure that if you talk about, I think you can get there on restrictions without saying it's a life or it's not. You can just say in these cases, there's no cause for this procedure except under X and Y conditions. And I think that's a very reasonable tactic. And I do feel that, this is just a personal feeling, that the pro-life side has lost part of the argument by not focusing on that, by saying we need to ban it completely, as our guest Troy Newman was talking about, president of Operation Rescue. It can be his goal of banning it completely, but I think the better argument is we need to stop third trimester or late-term abortions, period.
Well,
full stop, end of it, and then we can deal with everything else afterwards. But let's get there first, because slippery slope doesn't necessarily happen. And what I talk about is both when you had mixed marriages, the argument then is, well, who are you going to let marry? Am I going to be able to marry my goat? That was the same argument we have with same-sex marriages. Well, if I can marry a dude or a girl can marry a girl, then can I marry my dog? Nope, those are different. And we can talk about what procedures are different and why.
Within the pro-life community, though, we don't see this much different than slavery, right? You have the dehumanizing of a particular sect of or section of the population, and therefore we can do whatever we want in light of that. And so, but similarly to the debates that took place around slavery, do we jump straight to total voting rights for blacks, or did we have to go through the abolition of the slave trade, then the emancipation of slaves, then Jim Crow issues, and the work that it took there? Anyways, we'll continue. We're up against a break. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone lines. Jim and Sterling. Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
How we doing?
Good. How are you? What's on your mind?
I got a quick question, which I don't know the answer to, but one of the two of you will. Now, follow the money all the time. So therefore, if they're working for a company, a woman, they get maternity leave. How does that work? So is that why a woman will wait? If they find out that they're pregnant after a month, why don't they do something about it then? If they're working for a company that's giving them maternity leave, therefore maybe they'll wait till the last minute to get those paychecks and stay at home until the last farthest day.
Well, Jim, maternity leave is post-birth. So you can't take maternity leave prior to the birth. So if the woman is getting pregnant just to take maternity leave, she's got to give birth in order to get that time off. It's not granted prior to birth.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Now, yeah, I didn't know how that worked. I didn't know.
Yeah. What about this, Jim? Donald Trump in the last 48 hours or so has floated the idea of paying parents $5,000 per child to have that child. One, do you agree? Two, is it the same incentive that someone has been claiming about welfare queens, that these women are getting a big fat government check for having babies and staying home? Is Donald Trump encouraging welfare queens? Your thoughts?
Oh, gosh.
Tell you what, Jim, hang on. Think about that for a sec, and we'll try to bring you back real quickly. We'll do it real quickly at the top of the hour right after this.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't like the taxpayer dollars being used for it, but we have to change our culture when it comes to valuing children.
That's fair.
And the sanctity of life. So in that case, I kind of do like it. I just wish I didn't have my babies during the Obama administration. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
You get paid. 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jim, Sterling, Donald Trump, $5,000 per baby.
I'm gonna start it off with this. Nobody plans to fail. They failed to plan. So therefore, they do their things intentionally.
Okay. Now, what I'm looking at is the $5,000 incentive that's been floated by Trump to have babies. Is that, in your mind, is that a good idea? And then secondarily, is that the same plan that the government has for welfare babies? The argument always is that these lazy people will stay home and have more and more babies because they're going to get a fat government check. Is this the same incentive? If I can sit home and have the first baby, it's $5,000. Then when that $5,000 starts running out, I can have another baby, get another $5,000. How long can I go on squeezing those puppies out and living off the government? Is it the same thing?
Correct, and that's their plan. There's a lot of people that do that. So I do not like that plan. I don't like it.
Okay, that's fair. I appreciate that.
I do like the idea that the culture's shifting a little bit. Elon Musk is a part of this. Obviously, I don't like the way Elon Musk has set up his family structure.
Dude, Elon would be paying out again and again and again if he was on that for babies.
All right, then what do you think? We could do a whole show on that when I may at one point. But do I like the fact that we're going from Boulder Clinic, late-term abortions, 45,000 babies dying there over 50 years to, hey, maybe babies are so valuable, we'll pay you to have them? I do like that. Go ahead, Jim, last word.
I'm with you on that one. I am absolutely with you on that one because it gives people an incentive, not just for one, to save a life, but to bring up our own Americans.
There you go. Jim, Sterling, appreciate the call.
Jim.
All right,
we got
Jeff.
Yeah. Can I have the baby and then give it up for adoption, and then can I still cash the check?
I think that's surrogacy, isn't it, at that point? Where you're collecting money, giving up the baby, collecting money,
I'm only
giving
gonna
up
make the
the baby.
decision afterwards. Yeah. Maybe when they're 6. I'm kidding.
I'm
teasing.
We do want some retroactive pay. Can this work for those of us that had babies during Obama?
Yes, Jeff, we need hazard pay, yes.
All right, we'll get to your phone calls, your texts, and we've got the sage of South Central, Larry Elder, is going to be joining us in a little bit. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go now to Blake Olson with the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
50 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 67 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Uber warns it could cease its operations in Colorado if the state's rideshare safety bill is passed into law. Uber's spokesperson Adam Blinick says the company supports improved safety, but the bill would be impossible to enforce as written.
Our problem with this bill are not around safety-related matters. The fact is, it would be impossible for us to comply with. That could mean that tens of thousands of Coloradans would lose important access to a valuable earning opportunity.
No doubt about that. House Bill 1291 would require a number of protocols for rideshare companies, which includes regular background checks on their drivers and requiring audio and video recording during rides. It would also ban driving under the influence of pot. Uber officials say the current bill not only misses the mark, but risks doing more harm than good when it comes to legal liability. Colorado Democratic Representative Jenny Wilford introduced the legislation after she says she was sexually assaulted by a Lyft driver last year. Troy Newman, Operation Rescue, on with the fellas last hour. Big day. Warren Hearn closing his abortion clinic in Boulder after 5 decades of killing babies.
So this guy literally wrote the book. He's been practicing, he's been teaching, he's been prognosticating and advocating for abortion for over 50 years. Since 1975, this place has been open. I've protested out there. I've prayed against him out there. And so have many, many other people in Colorado. and all across the nation, by the way. So this is it's an exciting day. We're delighted. The cross of Christ will reign supreme over devilish ghouls like this every single time.
Amen. DJT says he's not happy about strikes conducted by Russia on the capital of Ukraine. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said the strikes were not necessary and came at a very bad time. He called for President Putin to stop the violence and added that let's get a peace deal done. Ukraine's Air Force says around 70 missiles fell on Kiev. Earlier today, over 100 Russian drones targeted the city. Ukrainian officials say at least 9 people were killed in the assault, which hit over a dozen locations, including residential buildings. 50,000 mourners have lined the streets outside St. Peter's Basilica, where they are paying their respects to Pope Francis. President Trump and the First Lady will be there for the funeral on Saturday. The Prime Minister of Norway will meet with 47 today. Who knows? They may have some lutefisk and lefse there. Eunice Stura says he will be in D.C. today with Norway's Finance Minister Jens Stoltenberg to meet with Trump at the White House. Right now, there's a 10% tariff on Norway. And one of the coolest things in American history, I think, what 47 announced on Wednesday.
Putting up a beautiful, almost 100-foot tall American flag on this side and another one on the other side, 2 flags, top of the line. And they've needed flagpoles for 200 years. It was something I've often said, they don't have a flagpole per se. So we're putting one right where you saw us, and we're putting another one on the other side on top of the mounds. It's going to be 2 beautiful poles. Paid for by Trump.
And the taxpayers won't paid for by DJT.
Bill wanted to make sure those flags were made in America.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Check the label.
Well, that's a good question. Very good question. I'm sure the journalists will be out there trying to figure that out. That is a very good question. I think he said they were made in America. Hopefully they are. All right. Sorry, guys. This one made me sick. AOC. Here you go.
Idaho, I am so touched being here. I'm a girl from the Bronx. To be welcomed here in this state, all of us together, seeing our common cause, this is what this country is all about. Don't let them trick us into thinking we are enemies. Don't let them trick us into thinking we can be separated into rural and urban, black and white and Latino. We are one.
Ha! Just project.
If you don't think she's running for president or U.S. Senate,
oh yeah,
dude, this is all about it.
I want to see J.D. Vance and her in a debate tomorrow. I cannot wait.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
Oh, no, I can wait. What are you saying?
Yeah, because it's been 4 years.
This happened. What's frightening about this? I was in Pocatello, Idaho, right after Obama came through the first time, and I'm like, what? It was like 2 days after it, and all these people in Idaho talking about Obama. It just reminded me of the same. It's like the same deal, man. They are just, as you saw.
They become these projection candidates where you kind of put all of your hopes upon them.
Yes.
With the belief that, and they don't have really any policy, right? They just kind of.
Right. Make you feel good. Forget what I've said in the past. Here, let me play 15 more seconds here.
Alexandria, they told us this was a conservative state. They got it wrong.
And Idaho.
Yeah, because all the Californians moved there.
I know that looking around here, it can feel impossible.
I can feel looking around here in Idaho, one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. It can feel impossible because you look like me.
Republicans out here to be defeated. That's not true.
Oh, man, they have the music going. Ugh, gross. All right, we got NBA tonight, the Nuggets and the Clippers, Game 3. Last night, the Avalanche lose to the Stars 4-1. They trail 2-1. The Nuggets series is tied at 1 apiece. Rockies and the Royals today at noon. 48 in Parker, 47 in Erie, 50 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Man, you got the Sage coming up. What? Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Some developing upslope will bring some changing weather to the Front Range in the days ahead. Temperatures will be slightly cooler, and chances of showers and thunderstorms will be going up. Highs today, mid to upper 60s, with scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight. Lows 40s. Highs will be 60s Thursday and near 60 Friday, with scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms possible both days. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
He's here, the sage of South Central, Larry Elder, out with a brand new documentary, Electric Vehicles, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You can watch it at watch.salemnow.com. That's watch.salemnow.com. And he joins the Jeff and Bill Show. Larry Elder, thank you so much.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, gentlemen. The
blackface, the white supremacy
in the house.
You need that on a T-shirt.
Now, on that note, Larry Elder, we were pointing out earlier, there's this new sex ed camp up in Boulder where you can send your 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to a 2-week-long camp. And we were joking, this is peak white liberalism. That there's no way Hispanic, Black, or Asian families would ever put any of their kids through a 2-week-long sex ed camp. Yeah. Only white liberals would come up with this idea.
Only they would outsource it and say, I'm uncomfortable about this. Let's have somebody else take care of this for me.
You know, what's going on in this country? Right now, the Supreme Court is considering a case, Montgomery County, Maryland, where the parents can't even opt out when the teachers are teaching LGBTQ-related curriculum. You can't even opt out. Most every other school board gives the parents a chance to opt out. You have to have your kid undergo all of this stuff. So the Supreme Court is hearing this right now, and I believe it's going to be slapped down. But back to my documentary, if you don't mind, gentlemen. Electric vehicle, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You were just talking about things that make people feel good. People are assuming that EVs are better for the planet because they have allegedly a smaller carbon footprint. They really don't. It takes fossil fuel generated energy to make it, to transport it, the electricity to charge it. And more importantly, it makes us more dependent upon China for the computer chip to go into the car and for the minerals to go into the battery. Either they control them, manufacture them, or produce them in China or places that China controls, like the Congo, where kids using their bare hands, slave labor, are mining this stuff. It's toxic for $1 or $2 a day. I think if people knew that they were using slave labor to produce the minerals that go into the battery, they would rethink the whole thing.
That is the sage of South Central, Larry Elder. You hear him in the afternoons right here on 710 KNUS, and we are so excited that he's joining us. We're talking about his brand new documentary, talking about EVs, and I like that you went that way, Mr. Elder. The idea of how we get the minerals for the batteries, what it means as far as manufacturing of chips. What do you feel was kind of the most shocking thing that a lot of those people that are EV supporters don't understand or don't get about having an EV?
Well, I think it was the things I mentioned, that it takes fossil fuel generated energy to manufacture it, to ship it to the dealership, fossil fuel manufacturing energy to make the electricity to charge it, and then all the stuff I said about the dependence upon China, it makes it a national security issue, it enriches China, and then exploits all these kids, many of whom are black children living in the Congo. These are the kinds of things that you would think people on the left would care about.
That's Larry Elder, new documentary out, Electric Vehicles, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You can watch it at watch.salemnow.com, watch.salemnow.com. Now, Mr. Elder, one of the biggest impacts on the now direction of our country, ally closely with Donald Trump, is the single greatest electric car maker in world history, Elon Musk. Tell us how you put this film together in light of what Elon's been able to contribute and the goodness he's brought to this country.
Well, I did it about a year ago, before Doge, before any of all this stuff, so it just kind of happened to be coincidental, and before the high tariffs on China. I think Elon Musk is our Thomas Edison. He's our Benjamin Franklin combined. The man is a genius. I mean, PayPal, SpaceX, AI, Tesla, it goes on and on and on. The man is a genius. And I think it's been extraordinary that he was able to sacrifice all that time and energy and run the risk of ruining the reputation of Tesla by joining up with Donald Trump. He's made a great sacrifice to America. The man is a true patriot. That does not mean, however, that EVs are better for the planet than gas-powered cars. They're fun to drive. I've never driven one before, and the self-driving stuff is amazing. It's going to be, if it gets implemented broadly, fewer accidents per 1 million miles in humans because it's more reliable than humans. It's not foolproof, but it's just remarkable technology, and they're fun to drive, as I said earlier. But I think people should have a choice. I'm in California, and Gavin Newsom has mandated by the year 2035 no more sale of new gas-powered cars by the year 2035. 2 days after he issued that edict, guys, he issued an energy alert saying of the 3.9% of the people who own cars, who own EVs, don't charge them during peak hours because it taxes the California energy grid. You can't make this up.
That's Larry Elder. He's got a new documentary out, Electric Vehicles, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You can watch it at watch.salemnow.com, watch.salemnow.com. Now, Larry, I'm kind of a fan of Bjorn Lomborg. He's a climate analyst, and he's looked at, the actual data on this and gotten away from what I think is almost like a religious devotion to the idea of global climate change. Because what he points out is that the easiest, fastest way for a country to get out of poverty is with oil, gas, and coal. It's cheap, it's abundant, it's reliable, it helps poor people get out of terrible poverty situations. That's why China, that's why India, that's why Pakistan refused to sign on with all of these environmental. In reality, being environmentalist is a luxury of the wealthy. Talk to us about that.
It absolutely is. I'm a fan of Lomborg as well. And I point out in the documentary, I'm not talking about climate change, whether you believe it is an existential threat the way Biden does, whether you believe, as a guy named Freeman Dyson, a physicist, that Al Gore and Inconvenient Truth are lousy science, or you're sort of in the middle the way Lomborg is. He believes that there is climate change. He believes it is real. He believes it is serious, but he doesn't believe it makes sense to mandate that you end fossil fuel energy because it will hurt the poor people first. He believes you should deal with the consequences of climate change. It'll make some parts of the world warmer, some parts of the world colder, and let's address the consequences, but let's not try to do it by ending fossil fuel generated power. I'm a fan of his.
Larry, I want to ask you a little bit about China's dominance of the EV industry and why that's a national security threat for the United States. Give us some insight.
Well, not only is it a national security threat regarding the EV industry, also the chips that are used in our military. China also dominates pharmaceuticals that we need. We become so dependent upon China. If China all of a sudden shut off everything, we'd be in deep, deep voodoo. How did this happen? We were asleep at the wheel, and little by little, China has cornered the market on many products that we need every single day. Again, pharmaceuticals, the chips that go into our smartphones, the chips that go into our batteries for the EVs. That's one of the reasons why Donald Trump, in my opinion, is right to have this trade war against China. We need to transfer a lot of things that are being manufactured in China, manufactured here, or countries that are not adversarial to us the way China is. China is the number one adversarial threat in the world, and we've made them more and more wealthy.
That's Larry Elder, the sage of South Central. You hear him afternoons here on 710 KNUS. He is gracing us with his presence this morning. I have to say that because we're so excited that you're here. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about the EVs and China. Just recently, BYD and another company, CLTR, I think it is, just released that they have made a dramatic change in battery charging capabilities. They have both demonstrated that you now can charge the standard EV in 5 minutes. They've pushed that technology to an area in which Tesla, Rivian, everybody else hasn't been able to. The question I've got for you, Larry Elder, how in the heck do we catch up? What does the U.S. need to do? We can disconnect ourselves from China, but if I gave you the Jeff and Bill magic wand, how do you put the U.S. into the pole position in EV development around the world?
Well, that's a great question, and it certainly won't happen overnight. There's also some new technology, I understand, to make batteries without the cobalt that is being mined by hand, as I mentioned earlier, in places like the Congo. So one of the points made in the documentary is the technology is changing rapidly, and hopefully we can catch up. We recognize that it is a national security issue and treat it like we did the nuclear project that we did, World War II, then we can turn this around. But it's got to be a national commitment, and leadership's got to come from the top.
Now, Larry Elder, I want to take this in just a little bit of a different direction, talking about climate change, and I want to get your reaction to recent news that happened out of Spain. The beginning of April, Spain finally, after all its investment into renewables, was able to generate all the power needed in the nation from renewables, but just for 24 hours. Not as if they made the entire changeover. So what is it, the people that are pushing so hard for us to change to renewables, what do they not understand as far as the difficulty going to wind, solar, geothermal, everything else, and getting us away from fossil fuels?
And Spain is probably one of the leading countries that's been pushing all of this stuff. The bottom line is fossil fuel generated energy is cheap and it's reliable. Wind and solar are wonderful when you got wind, when you got the sun. When you don't, you can't restore it, you can't store the power, so it's gone. The bottom line is, as much as you don't like it, fossil fuel generated power is far more efficient, far more cost effective, and it's getting cleaner and cleaner all the time. The technology that's being used to improve EVs is also being used to improve fossil fuel generated energy.
That's Larry Elder. Now, Larry, for many Coloradans that may travel to California, you drive across this very interesting power operation taking place in the Mojave Desert in California with all these mirrors that are pointed in an effort to generate a bunch of heat to boil some water. And it's huge. It's expansive. And from what I'm reading is that PG&E has now ended its contract or is wrapping up its contract because it cost so much and generated so little. Do you have any insight on that energy program out in California?
Well, California's pressured all these utility companies to spend a lot of money on renewables. And one of the reasons power lines have not been put underground, which would make them a lot safer when we have these wildfires, because they're spending so much money on these wind and solar projects. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of money. California used to be headquartered to all 10 of the top oil and gas companies in America. Now it's headquartered to none. Chevron just left, partly because of all these rules and regulations that essentially are telling oil and gas producers, we don't want your business.
Larry Elder. Now, Larry, I want to pivot a little bit. By the way, if you want to watch his documentary before I pivot, you got to go to watch.salemnow.com. Electric vehicles, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can watch it right there. You can buy the DVD. This is just out. All right, just a few weeks ago. You got to go check it out. Great documentary. Now, Larry, you have a governor that wants to be president. We have a governor that wants to be president. I think your governor has a much better chance than our governor. Jared Polis is not interesting. He's very boring. He's like most Colorado Democrats that try to make the national leap. They get about 2%. Tell us what to expect. Is Gavin Newsom likely to be the Democrat nominee for president?
I know he thinks so. I don't. The majority of people in California don't want him to run for president. Our unemployment rate is the highest in the nation. Our job generation rate is the slowest in the nation. We've lost about 1 million people in the last 3 years. Many of them have gone to places like Colorado and Idaho, as you were talking about earlier. High crime. Our schools are near the bottom. Our budget is awful. He inherited a $100 billion surplus and turned it into about a $70 billion deficit. The crime, because he supported bills like Proposition 47 that allows you to steal up to $950, not just a day, but per store, after store, after store, if you get caught. you committed a misdemeanor. They write you a ticket. You have zero chances of going to jail because he supports policies of cashless bail. So I don't believe that he can run. He can't run on the economy. He can't run on crime. He can't run on people staying in the state because they're voting with their feet. He thinks he's going to run. In fact, I hope he's a nominee. Is California crazy? He was the two-term mayor of San Francisco. Have you seen the homelessness in San Francisco? He promised to end the homelessness problem by the end of his second term. And then for 8 years, he was lieutenant governor and sat around complaining that he had nothing to do. And I said, go back to San Francisco and clean up the homelessness. So I think there's a whole lot of problems that he's going to have. The thing that he has most gunning for him is women perceive him to be good-looking, and he is relatively charismatic. I'll give him that. But he's a brain-dead California moron who I believe, if he's the nominee for the Democratic side, he'll be beaten pretty easily.
Right there is why we love this guy. Larry Elder,
Yes.
the sage of South Central. Absolutely wonderful. Now, we had a big rally here in Denver, Bernie Sanders, AOC. I went to it, covered it. 30,000 people there. It was one of the bigger rallies we've had in Colorado since Barack Obama was anointed, among the Greek columns at Mile High Stadium back in 2008. It seems like the Democrat Party, there's an edge that really wants a more progressive wing. I mean, 30,000 was a big turnout. AOC traveling around, doing these rallies. She did one out in Los Angeles as well. Do you think there's a liberal revival, a progressive revival taking place within the Democrat Party that wants the party to shift to become a lot more socialist, a lot more communist, more progressive, fight Trump? Do you see that taking place out in California?
I think there is a large part of the Democratic Party that wants that. I hope they're successful in taking over the party. Keep in mind, Bernie Sanders was stopped in 2024 after he won the Nevada caucuses, 2020 after he won the Nevada caucuses and became the front runner for a brief time. This is a self-described Democrat socialist, as is AOC, and they kneecapped him by supporting Joe Biden right before the South Carolina primary because Democrats knew they couldn't win with a self-described Democrat socialist. AOC is just younger and more attractive, where the policies are no different. That will not work. America basically is a center-left country, and just having a attractive, young, vibrant Democrat socialist still makes her a Democrat socialist.
That's exactly right. Larry Elder, the sage of South Central. You can hear him weekdays on 710 KNUS from 4 to 7 p.m. right after Hugh Hewitt. We're so glad that you are part of the Salem family and you got a chance to join us. But you really, my strongest recommendation, go check out his new documentary, Electric Vehicles, the good, the bad, and the ugly at watch.salemnow.com, watch.salemnow.com.
You're going up to Boulder, you're talking to all of them and the soy families and everybody up there, and they're talking to you about how you're destroying the planet with the EVs. Take a look at the work that Larry has done, and you're going to own those conversations. It's the best thing out there.
Larry Elder, thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks, guys. And by the way, the documentary came out the day before yesterday on Earth Day. I timed it for that. Earth Day.
Well done, sir. That's next level. Good job. I'm so proud of you. That is fantastic.
Oh, he's wonderful. Larry Elder.
God, he's good. He's so good.
Well, folks, I want to talk to you about the Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun, but the snow means even more to Colorado agriculture, and I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. The people of Colorado agriculture always have conservation, efficiency, and reuse top of mind when it comes to water use. As the metro area continues to grow, Colorado Farm Bureau leads talks with state policymakers about preserving water for all areas of the state as pressure on the water system grows. It's going to take all of us to find a solution, and it's not just driving EVs. It's actually working with people at the Colorado Farm Bureau. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com to join them. Bill, that was fun.
That was so fun. That was really cool.
He's good.
Yeah. He's really good. I
I'm
love
going
the
to
fact
go
that
clip those.
he
Gavin
dropped that
Newsom.
on Earth Day. That is damn genius. That is so good. So smart.
All right. You can watch Larry Elder's documentary, Electric Vehicles, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly at watch.salemnow.com. That's watch.salemnow.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader with Larry Elder. News Talk 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We just spoke to the sage of South Central, Larry Elder, here from 4 to 7 p.m. on the show daily, weekdays here on KNUS. That was really cool. If you missed the conversation, go back and check out the podcast. Also, make sure you check out his new EV documentary that dropped on Earth Day, which is super smart. I want to talk to you for a second. We're going to hear in a second a chat about our Attorney General joining a lawsuit against tariffs, the president, because he's trying to stop something that is going on, and that's where I want to go with this. I want you to stop something maybe going on in your family or someone that you care about. Maybe it's yourself. I'm talking about a wound, a slow-healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore. Because if you don't fix the problem, ignoring it, it's not going to get any better. So if you got to ignore it, it's simply not going to work out well, and that's what I found out in my own life. I want you to talk to Wound Care Associates of Colorado, because years ago, I had an aunt that developed a chronic wound on her leg. During the treatment, she was exposed to MRSA. That led to some very negative consequences, including a number of bouts in and out of the hospital that would last for days, weeks, even months, and some amputations. And it's because they were trying to maintain the wound. Yeah, I know. It's an open wound. Why the hell would you want to maintain it? Doc, why don't we want to fix this thing? Exactly. Let's just hope the oozing continues. No. How about we stop it, Doc? That's where you want to talk to Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Wound Care Associates of Colorado are changing the game right here in our state by doing it differently. First of all, they will promote faster healing, better healing outcomes. They know that open skin and tissue is the perfect place for the germs, dirt, and bacteria to get access to your body. That's what happened to my aunt. She got the infection because the wound was kept open. They don't do that. Also, Wound Care Associates of Colorado makes it as easy as possible for you to treat that wound because they come to you on your schedule. No trying to figure out what transportation time is, no trying to take time off, or even if it's a friend or a family member, figuring out how to go pick them up, then sit with them in the waiting room, and then taking them home. No, you can schedule it so they come to your home. You get the treatment you need in the comfort, privacy of your house. How cool is that? Also, they'll set up a personalized treatment plan. That is exactly what they did for my youngest. When my daughter had a recent surgery, the wound just wasn't closing. It wasn't healing as well as we needed it to. And once the doctor mentioned that word maintenance, yeah, I told you what happened to my aunt. I was not having any of that. As soon as we walked out of that office, I went to coloradowound.com, and I contacted Wound Care Associates of Colorado, and I set up an appointment. They came, they saw her, and where the wound is now versus what was happening beforehand, it is night and day difference. She's had so much tremendous results. It's almost healed up fully. We got about another week and a half, and it should be absolutely good to go. That's ridiculous versus what we were dealing with beforehand. So don't mess around. Someone in your family is dealing with something like this, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Contact them at coloradowound.com, better healing outcomes, and that old school concierge house call service. Can't get better than that. coloradowound.com. Back to you, Jeff.
So when Donald Trump implemented his tariffs, Bill, Rand Paul went to the floor of the Senate, gave a speech, powerful speech, about how this is a tax levied upon the American people. Ergo, this belongs in the purview of Congress. Article 1, this is where that power exists. The power to tax is with the power of Congress. Now, 11 states, including Colorado, have embraced that idea, that this belongs not with the president, but with Congress, and the injured parties are the residents of the state and are suing Donald Trump in an effort to end the tariffs. Now, Colorado's joining that.
Of course.
Here's the issue I have with it, and I had it when Rand Paul gave the speech too. I don't consider it a direct tax. I consider it a form of foreign policy negotiations. And in that case, that power belongs with the President of the United States, because to run tariff negotiations through Congress, we might get around to it in 20 years before that thing gets settled. But to put that with Congress, I don't think is the right allocation of power. Secondly, I noticed no Philly Weiser show up for SUI when Joe Biden was implementing any tariffs.
And he also didn't complain about them when Joe Biden continued Trump's tariffs either.
Right.
So, two cases there. Yeah, I think this is misdirected. I understand why they're saying that it is a tax on the American people, but it's somewhat of a consumption tax, meaning that it's going to be on the or a value added. The idea that of the products and services you consume, that's where the tax is going to be levied. It's not a universal. You may have to pay more for a new car. That's what we expect with the tariffs. But if you're not buying a new car, you're not subject to that tax. So I'm not certain that the universality of their argument is going to work. I would actually say, and it's not going to work, I would have told them to sue Congress, because Congress are the ones that have, in my position, has abdicated their role for levying tariffs. And they've given the executive a lot of leeway. Where I think there may be some hay to be made would be on the rationale and reasoning behind the tariffs. The idea that it is some sort of an emergency.
Yeah.
That's where I think that you can really press, because then you have to, because what you're doing then is, rather than saying, it's a tax and no. You're forcing the White House and the executive branch to justify their reasoning and rationale. Why did you do this? Much like, okay, again, it's the morning of inelegant and bad analogies. But much like if you're pulled over, there needs to be probable cause for the police officer to search your car. There has to be something else that has happened. So what you're looking for is, what is the action? What's the activities taking place that we declare this an emergency that then gives the broad leeway of powers to the president? I think that is their best set of arguments, but I'm not convinced that they see that as the target. I think they're going to do the whole tax thing because it's sexier, it's easier to understand, and they're going to swing and they're going to miss if that's going to be the thrust of their argument.
What do you think? Do you support Phil Weiser joining with 11 other states to sue the Trump administration in an effort to stop tariff policy? Lawsuit saying U.S. tariff policy has been subject to Trump's whims rather than the sound exercise of lawful authority. Do you agree? Or do you look at the tariff negotiations as a form of foreign policy development? Ergo, that should remain with the president.
Other thing I'd be curious about from the audience is, what's the goal of the tariffs? Because we've heard a number of different things floated. You just talked about foreign policy negotiation, and that's fair. But at one point, it was about fentanyl and drugs and illegal immigrants. Then at another point, it was about bringing manufacturing back to the U.S. So what is the purpose of these tariffs? And I'm not sure that would fit in a lawsuit, but what would be that's the idea, is if he can't point to the reasoning behind it or the rationale as far as the goal, does that then make this a very weak stance for the president? Could he possibly lose in court if he can't point to, well, here's the goal, this is what I'm going to accomplish?
Interesting questions. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Speaking of Dan Caplis, I've known Dan for well over a decade, pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. He's with us on All the Values. This guy's solid and has over 40 years of serving the people of Colorado who have been injured in a serious motor vehicle crash. But more than being a great guy with a great legacy of serving Coloradans and getting justice for them, he's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Good text message here from Mary in Wyoming. We're talking about Phil Weiser, the state of Colorado, now suing Donald Trump in an effort to stop the tariffs. She writes, Trump would be smart that after he negotiates the tariffs, take that agreement to Congress for approval.
Yeah, that would be smart. That would be.
Congress is just, what do they do? What do they do all day?
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it. That I am
cesspool of special interests.
It is. I'm getting to the point where I believe that their inaction is by design, because then they can go back and talk about other stuff they have to fix. Because if you fix it,
if only
then,
next time.
Exactly. I have to fight harder. I didn't know how much of a mess it was. How many times have you heard that from someone that gets newly elected to Congress and comes back for the re-election going, "Oh, I didn't understand how bad it was. I need more time." Yeah. How many times have you heard that? So,
well,
I don't know.
A good use of your money, if you need to, is with advanced hair restoration. Let's talk about your hair, guys. If you're losing it and desire to have it back, then advanced hair restoration is the easiest guaranteed solution. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results. I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys, it's not magic, but close to it. They put hair where you need it the most, and bam, it grows. It's actually science. Advanced Hair has it all. Top-rated Dr. Tanya Paul's modern technology, and best of all, you get your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees it will grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now, 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Advanced Hair is the winner twice now of Westward's Best of Denver and has changed the lives of tens of thousands of people. So don't wait. Check out the before and afters online for yourself, 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Dude, we got to hang with Larry Elder today.
That is awesome. That is fantastic. That's like
Next
the
level.
best. Yeah, I know.
It's like when you're a freshman and sophomore and you're carrying your little lunch tray around.
Exactly.
And then the guys that are just like really cool hanging out, the football jocks, the captain of the team just goes, "Hey, Bill.
Yep.
Come on over, man."
I know. Get
Grab
to sit
a
with the
seat."
seniors. Yes. That is like, it makes you feel so cool, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is what it's really like.
He's got his new documentary out. It's all about EVs. Go check it out at watch.salemmedia.com. Watch.salemmedia.com. And check out the great work Larry's doing there. If you missed any of the show, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast there. Wonderful show. We'll be back tomorrow. Lora Thomas is going to respond to George Teal tomorrow on our show. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.